Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with my new friend, Sinizter, who has been very kind to set aside some time to hang out with me, to chop it up, to divulge some intense personal detail, but also give us the secret sauce to his online streaming success. Mr. Sinizter, thank you very much. I think you are a personable, kind guy, but maybe we could get some of that sinister energy coming out sometime in this interview. But
oh yeah,
thank
it
you
probably
very much
will.
for making the time for talking to me.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
Dude, of course. There's a lot of people that DM me trying to get help with their band, trying to whatever. And you are a guy who has seriously had some success in the streaming world that I think will be able to really deliver to the astute listener of my podcast who wants some secret sauce. I'm going to tell you right now, fucking listen to this guy, because this guy has some success that, that you would be best to do your best to replicate.
Yeah. At least to the best of your ability.
Yeah, for whatever applies. But let's just look at whatever. So, dude, I want to start off with, for anyone who hasn't heard, Sinizter is a serious goes under moniker the trap metal, scream rap, but you really are multi-genre. But what we related on is you come from a background definitely of extreme music, to put it most generally. Was, and you reached out to me. What was it? You saw the Clay interview or something like that?
I did, dude. Yeah, man. Yeah, the Cemetery Rapist interview. And I was like,
and that's what you like Clay stuff or something?
Yeah. Well, I was doing a deep dive on like just slam in general, like about a year ago.
Okay.
I've always liked it. I found Waking the Cadaver, Blood Splatter Satisfaction like years ago, and like YouTube was like brand new to the internet.
I was on that too, where they would have the misheard lyric videos.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was like my gateway into slam. I feel like Waking the Cadaver is like, that gateway band for slam. But then I didn't get too into it as a teenager, but like recently I've like, with the rise of bands like Peeling Flesh, I was like, I just started going down the rabbit hole, and I just, started listening to like bands like Guttural Secrete and just, other insane bands, you name it. But I came across CR and I was like, what is this? And then I was like, this is pretty badass. And then like, I was like, oh, actually, what's funny? Who shared it was Michael Soto from Peeling Flesh.
Okay. And it's like, there's no way I didn't know him or anything, Clay, back then, but I saw it just because people were like, look how fucking ridiculous this is. Dude. In that initial MySpace era of 2007, 2008. I remember seeing Waking the Cadaver, Sperm Swamp, Cemetery Rapist, just because people, it had nothing to do. This was before I was even into, I would have listened to it unironically. I saw people sharing it like, what the fuck is going on here?
Dude, I mean, I respect it. And I loved seeing clips or finding clips of him on YouTube, like playing just by himself, like just guitar and backtrack. I was like, dude, fuck yeah.
Dude, he rocks it too. And it's funny. I'm happy to plug it just because his live shows are amazing, because you and I were just having a conversation 2 minutes ago before we started recording about what I was saying is you have to be mindful as a one-man band with your sound when you're playing a show, because you have to really sit there and think, how do I deliver the intensity that a 5-piece band delivers? You know what I mean? You have stereo, guitar amps and cabs with a bass cab that's probably DI'd, with a full drum kit. You know what I mean? It really is a challenge to anyone who has played a lot of basement shows, thrown basement shows. Excuse me for being a bit redundant, but the audience cares. We've played a lot of shows where there's a 5-piece band, a 4-piece band, and then there's a single rapper or something who is playing out of one 8-inch left PA speaker, and it just sounds like shit, and everyone walks out to smoke a cigarette, smoke a joint, because it's just such a pattern interrupt, but in a bad way. of
yeah.
the level of intensity. And Clay, so we did a gig for Clay, and Clay has his own PA system that he routes out into the main PA system. So he has his bass drops going, and it just sounds fucking awesome. Because we've played with so many where single one-person bands where it's a drum machine and it's the guy's fucking drum machine plugged into the 8-inch PA speakers, and it just, like, I'm telling you, it's the biggest buzzkill when you walk in, and it's fucking, even if it's Putrid Pile or a legend, like,
yeah.
If it's on the tiny PA, like, it just cannot, like, it's just not something that translates to a basement in the way a regular band does. So shout out to PA for doing that. And we'll get into how you are adjusting for that, because you have mixed bills. You're playing things. I'd imagine do you have some kind of, on your rider or anything like that, a technical rider for your PA, or have you not dealt with the issue of someone under delivering on a PA system that sabotages your set?
So for the first time, on this last tour I was just on, we were playing venues that were kind of like dive bars.
Yeah.
They weren't like they were venues, but they weren't like venues. But the very first show was set up exactly how you're talking about. They had
with powered mixer, like, going.
They had because like a lot of times, you know, rappers are not using in-ears unless they're like on a real professional stage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So we have like just stage monitors. So they had one stage monitor facing us that was on stage left, and then they had stage right was a PA that was facing outwards, and it was just like, man.
Yeah. Like, what the hell do I even do?
Like, I'm like, dude, this is rough. And then the you know, the vocals are coming out of the same speaker that the music is coming out of too. So it's just like, this is rough,
dude. And it's just a bad feeling, because you're totally at the mercy of that sound system when you're a single guy like that, like because I've been on a stage before like that, and it's just, there's times where it sounds great and there's times where it sounds terrible, and I had no control over either.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, like it was what it was. I just, you know, you got to deal with it. You roll with the punches. It is what it is. But, I mean, like, I just, it's easy for me to over project doing the style that I do. So like when I'm in a situation like that, I really have to like tone it down, like vocally, which sucks. Because I just have to be careful. But yeah. I mean, like, there was a decent amount of people in there, so like, you know, when you're sound checking, it sounds terrible, but as people pile in, you're like, okay, you know, we'll just rock it. These people are drunk and hammered and mosh pitting anyway, so it's like, it kind of doesn't matter. But
well, and you're a G where you fucking deliver. I've seen a lot of rappers. I don't have to name names. Mainstream rappers who have a lot of songs I like where they're like doing half the ad lib. They're just playing the recording and doing half the ad lib track. That is not what you're doing. Even on a shot PA system, one, they'll hear you because you're screaming, but two, I'm sure they appreciate the intimacy of just being able to run up and be part of you having your freak out Sinizter moment.
Yeah, and it definitely is too. Like, especially like a lot of the venues I still play. Like, I know we, you know, talked about like before we came on that, you know, I'm like successful, and I think successful, but I'm still very, very, very underground.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where it's like you're in. Like, if we're looking at that chart of you know, when there's unconscious incompetence, you know, like when we're looking at that, if you're saying, hey, I'm humble enough to say I'm at a point where I have conscious incompetence, you can, there's a lot of people that are still at unconscious incompetence, and you have enough knowledge to at least help them out with the game plan of like, how do I even, like, what do I even do? Because again, what I want to say is I know for a fact that like for your streaming numbers, like now you're at something close to 500,000. When I looked at or when I listened to some of the interviews before, there was one with Colt something, I don't remember.
Cult Classic. Cult Classic.
Cult Classic. Shout out Cult Classic. He did good interviews, and he was obviously very passionate, and he obviously knew like your inner circle. But you were saying I'm trying to get to 2, you were at 1 then. So obviously all I'm saying is you fluctuated between 500,000 and 2 million, I'd imagine, in your
we can talk about that real quick. So there was a point in time in like 2021 where I was following the trend, and like at the time it was like this cowbell TikTok funk sound that was coming out of Russia. It was like, it was super, super viral. And it didn't really have a name. It was just called funk. But not like Memphis funk. It sampled Memphis shit, but it wasn't like funk, like proper funk. It was like a new sound that was coming out of Russia. And then eventually they started calling that drift funk. And then again, it was viral for like that year. And then 2022 came around and it was like, okay, now we're going to add this whole 4 on the floor, like dance kind of thing. That kind of almost sounded reminiscent of like industrial a little bit, but like still funk, still hip hop actually. And then like you had this, actually, this is really crazy. And this is kind of pertinent to this interview. There was this artist named Cordhell. You can look him up. He's a band guy. He was an engineer in LA for a long time. I mean, you can look this up now because I'm pretty sure if you Google Cordhell, his actual government name will come up. But did you know the band Anal Nathrak?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't know him personally. But
okay, yeah. So if you know the band Anal Nathrak, that's him.
Okay.
Which is crazy because it's like Anal Nathrak reached a certain point. They're very influential, like black metal band, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'd say they're kind of black metal. And they do a little more, but atmospheric, but also crazy.
Yeah. Their sound is fucking nuts. Well, the mastermind behind that band is Cordhell. So like he's got like all these mega viral songs. And so him and I did a song together called One Shot, One Kill. And that's like probably one of my most notable songs. But yeah, it was like this like super crazy sounding, like it had the cowbell funk thing, but it was like a real, like a dancey vibe, but still aggressive. It's crazy. Check it out if you get a chance. But yeah, he definitely reshaped that whole viral TikTok funk sound that was happening at the time. And then in 2023, now it's like 2023 it started transitioning into like this whole Brazilian funk thing. So that was when I pivoted out of it. Now at that point though, I had peaked at like 2.2 million monthly listeners, or no, 2.4. I have a screenshot of it. It's 2.4.
I would have screenshotted it too,
dude. At the time, I mean, like, because it sounds like, oh man, you fell off. It's like, nah, dude, I stopped making it because the longer the trend went on for that style, the less it required having a rapper and a voice behind it. It was just all samples.
Oh, I know.
And, like,
and you made a good point when you talked about it being, it's at a point where it's like, what the fuck does that have to do with 3-6 Mafia?
No, it completely lost. Yeah.
Not that, you know what I mean? I don't care. I'm not the kind of guy that's saying, show me your Memphis rap card to a fucking 12-year-old watching Brain Rot on TikTok, whatever this is coming up for. But what the fuck does that have to do with Memphis rap?
Well, to be honest, there's a lot of Memphis there now are a lot of Memphis purists now. Or
yeah.
So if it's
of
like,
course there is, because you're going to have that where it was, you're going to feel, because there were Memphis purists, even whatever. I wouldn't say totally purists, but before we even had this stuff, when we were, I remember my friends in 2015. They felt like they were ahead of the curve just by being into Kingpin, Skinny Pimp, and Tommy Wright III and all that kind of stuff. Like we did a couple. We got throwaway verses from Project Pat. I have like 3 songs with Project Pat that is fucking manager. Like just they were throwaway shit. But before this was going on, like I said, because I had a good friend that was really on this. That was in 2017. That was doing this style. So before it was TikTok, like. We did it because we really liked 3-6 Mafia and Tommy Ray
yeah.
and but yeah, obviously we just my death metal band played a gig with not DJ Squeaky, with Tom Ski Mask. No one was there.
Oh yeah.
No one, fuck it. There were like 10 people there. No one knew who Tom Ski Mask was. Even if pretty much anyone but Juicy J, Project Pat, or DJ Paul walked in, no one would know who they were, even if they were just jamming Phonk on their phone or whatever. So no, it became but it was international. It really morphed into one thing to another thing, but now it's kind of withdrawn from its original roots. But I appreciate that you bring that in here.
Yeah, because I mean, like even me, like I didn't realize it when I was going through it. I actually was getting a lot of flack from my own community for being somebody who kind of like was pioneering that sound and being like one of maybe like 3 rappers at the time that was like really, really pushing it and popularizing it.
And what was the problem? They were saying it just wasn't purist, or they were saying
they're like, dude, this isn't not even that. It's just like, this isn't Phonk is basically what they were saying. They're like, stop calling it Phonk.
It's withdrawn from the original.
Oh yeah. Like we sampled Phonk, but like it wasn't, it was like the sound itself was it was Eastern European as Russian, so it's like, that's not American Memphis funk, we weren't even using like the same, DR660 synthesizers. We weren't using any of that shit. It was just like it literally sounded like and really what it was like these 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids making beats in their room. And this shit would hit TikTok and it would go mega viral, and then these kids became rich overnight. It was insane.
And that's a bigger thing, and it really happens in the metal community too. And I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm a purist in like what I prefer to put on in my spare time, but I don't care to like proselytize about what's good or what's pure unless someone asks me. But dude, it was the same thing with metal bands where I heard because now there's a wave of, I call it hardcore adjacent death metal bands, but regardless, there's a lot of artists from all genres that are really leaning into like death metal aesthetics and that kind of stuff. And
oh man,
a lot of them were kids that were not into it until they saw a popular band that was around now that got way into it. And I don't care, but it puts you in a compromising position artistically when if you're going to continually follow trends. And I think that's what you're getting at, is that you had your sound. There was a period of time where you were able to incorporate your sound into a trend. And I think you're saying you probably, if you wanted to keep chasing, just getting the number as high as possible, you could have kept following trends, but you said this is the right time to hop off before I become derivative and I start feeling like I'm compromising.
There were 2 main things. That was one half. That was 50%. The other 50% was, and this is like, no shade. Let's not clip this part out. Like and use it as an Instagram reel. Don't do that. This can be for the main interview.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to watch the full thing, but because it's not, the labels were helpful at the time, and especially early on. I'm not going to name any names. If you know, but there was one label that was really spearheading this. They were the biggest label. I don't think they are the biggest label anymore. They might still be. But they had like everybody. They had me, they had Cordell, and this isn't label stuff. This is like distro deal stuff. So there's a difference.
And you're talking, and just to be clear, because you've had some different kind of management deals I've seen with metal labels, stuff like that. I don't know how relevant that is, but you're talking about online funk label that was spearheading this TikTok style. So please continue going on with that.
Yeah. So funk label specifically. And they weren't even really known as that previously. They used to do like a bunch of meme rap stuff back in like 2013. when that was like a trend. But
Yeah.
these guys, like they're masterminds, you know what I mean? They know what sells, you know. I mean, they work for a freaking label, you know what I mean? So but so at the time they were also like their own little subset, you know, within, you know, Sony, the Orchard and all that. So everything was just, you know, hey, like we're just a couple guys and we want to try to see how far this potentially really viral thing can go. And so, I mean, obviously when they found a guy like Cordell who really, really took it to the next level, I mean, that was basically it. He like blew open the doors for it. I mean, you can find a bunch of articles on him from like Billboard, probably embedded in articles in like Rolling Stone and stuff like that. I mean, like it really, really, really like peaked with him. But now again, it became something totally different. But all that to say that the other half, the reason why I got out was because I realized that with all the splits between myself, a collaborator, labels, and mind you, some of the songs I was working on had like multiple producers on it. So it's like you start looking at like, hey, this is the label share, this is your share. And then like they're like the label would take like, we'll say like 30%, right?
Yeah.
Well, now there's 70% to split between like 2 or 3 guys, depending on how many producers or artists are involved in the song. So you got that shit's got to be split 4 ways now. So like who's making money? Like the label is already like, hey, we make 30. So you 30 guys split the total product. Yeah. So it's like you guys figure out what you want to do with the rest of this master. But it's like a song will have to like go like semi-viral. And I'm talking like, you know, 10 million, 15 million streams in order for each person to make like $1,000 a month consecutively for a few months off of it. So basically, in order to feed yourself and pay your bills, I mean, that song has to be insane. Like it's got to do numbers.
Especially, I don't know, were you initially, I'd imagine initially you're paying all these costs up front for collaborators and everything?
No. Everybody like that was like the whole incentive behind it was it like, it's like, oh, hey, you know, these producers and artists are, well, there weren't very many rappers, but it was mostly producers collaborating with each other and just making like a viral beat, like sounds, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I see what you're saying.
But like the splits, like I realized, like, I'm like, damn, like I was making at the time, I was making decent money, but I'm like, dude, I feel like I could be making so much more if I didn't have all these splits. And my manager at the time was like, dude, like you would be making an astronomical amount at 2.4 million like monthly listeners. I mean, like there was a point in time where I was getting like 2 million streams a week.
That's what, you know, so, and then like, what is it? Do you know what it works out to? Is it like 1 million streams is like 3K? Is it if you had 100%?
I mean, yeah, it's weird. Like, so back then, at between 2021 and 2023, before Spotify really started changing up all the payouts and all that stuff, it used to be about like 33 to 3,600, depending on if they had premium or if they were running free with ads or whatever. But yeah, so roughly at like a little over 3K. So like you figure if you were making 100% at 1 million streams, so you're making $6,600 a month, or no, a week at 2 million streams.
Yeah.
But basically cut that down to like 40% of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're like, I was making good money, but like I started looking at the bigger picture and I'm like, damn. But then I started thinking like, would I even have these streams if I wasn't working with this label, with these producers? And obviously the answer is no.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I'm like, you know, I got to brand, like my manager at the time was like, look, you got to brand yourself away from this thing. And at the time, all I saw was money and all I saw was like the numbers. And I was just obsessed with chasing that. And it kind of clouded my judgment. And I was like, eventually in 2023, I kind of was taking a break, but what happened was I went on tour, or not. Before I went on tour, I did a show. I got invited to Europe to represent trap metal. There was a festival out there called Fight Fest in like it's called like Veliki Mezarici. That's the name of the city. I think I said that right. In Czech Republic. It's like This is in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
Southern Czech Republic. So like I flew into Austria and like took a train to like the southern part of Czech Republic. But dude, I played with like Paleface Swiss, Attila, Kublai Khan,
awesome.
fucking, like Chelsea Grin, the Ghost Inside. Like, I mean, biggest names in like hardcore, metalcore, deathcore at the time. If you know the band Throne, at the time they hadn't blown up on TikTok the way that they did. Dude, they played before me the same day. Like they were we were billed the same day and they played before I did. And I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like I look back at that now and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, wow, what a time to be alive. But I'm like, I mean, I had a good crowd. I mean, they were like, you know, stoked to see me and stuff. But like when I was added to the bill, it was like, what the fuck? You got this, like, you got all these crazy big bands and then me.
And it's funny to even hear you say, because to me, I don't think of it. I don't have a distinction like that at all, or I don't differentiate. I think it's good billing.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, it was. I guess for me, I just thought like, you know, this was a paid gig. You know, I went out there, like I got paid a certain amount of money that was quite a bit. But I got like the same treatment as like bands with like 5-piece bands, you know. But it's like I'm one guy. You know, so I'm like, damn, like I get this whole hotel room to myself that they put me up in. I get the full budget to myself. I get the full rider to myself. Like I'm like, damn, like,
all 5 bowls.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, this is crazy. So, like the way that festival worked, they have like a hotel on the actual fairgrounds, which is actually really cool. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, normally they're like, yeah, we usually give these, they assigned like I had a driver, which was fucking sick. I had almost just kind of like a caretaker. She worked for the festival, but she was just making sure I had just whatever I needed, anything that was listed on my rider, because I was there for multiple days. So she was just like making sure that I had like towels and stuff for like, you know, if I need to take a shower. Yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly. Just making sure I had everything, food and all that. And everything was free, you know. So I'm just, because like, you know, they give you like little meal tickets and stuff like that. But it was just like, it was just crazy. And I was like, damn, I'm like, this is what like the festival life is like. I'm like, dude, I need to do more of these. But at the time, I didn't even have a booking agent. I just got hit up to do that, which was even crazier. So and that's kind of when I realized, I'm like, damn, this is like, I guess I don't want to say that was peak, but that was peak for Phonk, because that's what I was doing at the time. Because this was in 2023. It was right before I started like, you know, being done with that.
Well, was that the first time you had an avenue where it was actually you got everything?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like I felt,
you know what I mean, because you're saying with the splits, you're like, I got label taking 30%.
Oh yeah.
Other guys. So you show up all these other bands, you're probably getting the same guarantee as, or if you get a comparable guarantee, if your guarantee is $5,000, that band splits it between 5 dudes.
Exactly, and that's what it was.
So is that what you're saying? Is that was the first time you were like, I got to investigate like how to really go do some solo shit, or at least incorporate some of that into my repertoire of how.
So I always had the metal background. Like I always had that, but like I just couldn't get 5 guys or 4 or 5 guys on the same page together to like form a band, show up for the band practice or rehearsals and like write songs and shit, whether it's old fashioned or, you know, Guitar Pro, and then we record it or whatever. Could never do that.
I have it for the first time right now after 15 years. I have a 5-piece band that makes no money. Where I can get 5 guys to show up twice a month to practice and then play a gig, and everyone just knows, hey, we're not getting any money, but whatever, it's fun. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but it took me 15 years of playing guitar to get to a point where I could have a full band. And there's still no success with it.
It sucks, man, because it's like, you know, I'm sure like you're probably close to my age, like in your 30s, and you probably remember back in the day, like if you were playing this when you like metal when you were a teenager, like you could get you and your friends, you know, to meet up in somebody's garage and just like have band practice regularly, like a few times a week, because it's like, hey, we hate school. We don't want to do this
Yeah.
shit. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck this. We just want to like be rebellious and play like fucking metal, right? But it's like, dude, when people start getting to that like adulting age, man, like everything is just so much harder. And people got to hold down a job, and some people got families and shit. So it's just like, I always like, I don't have any kids or anything. So for me, I'm just like, it's just me and my wife and, my dog but it's like, I have time,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've made progressively like every step of the way, starting at 18 years old.
Yeah.
I was forced or with decisions where it goes, are you gonna, hunker down with more commitments to do things, or do you want to do, or are you going to do what you have to do to keep that time available to me?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just one of the few people that I just kept deciding. I just kept deciding this is non-negotiable to me. And for better and worse, you know what I mean? I don't have financial stability like some of my friends have. It took me a long time to be in a good relationship with my wife, who I adore now. But every step of the way, you know what I mean? I had to keep holding out. And I still have to make decisions where I'm still holding out, and I don't have things that other people have, but because I'd rather have this. I'd rather have the time to invest in doing creative stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, like, this is all I do. Like, and there was a point in time too where, cause like, with my military background, I was getting the GI Bill up until 2021. And it was like early in 2021.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, it's like, I got to get a job again. And I'm like, maybe I just try to make the Sinizter thing work, like I had like a little bit of a following, I did a video on World Star the year prior. I'm like, maybe I just, call my parents and be like, look, cause my parents live, on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But I was like, look, I'm going to do something. I called my mom and my dad up and I was like, look, I'm going to do something really, really irresponsible, but like,
and pursue being a rapper.
Yeah. And I'm like, look, this could, like, I talked to she's now my ex-wife, but I looked at her and I had the conversation with her. And I'm like, look, I'm going to put us in a really vulnerable position, but like, I need you to trust me. And I'm like, I know it's a lot, but like, I'm not going to get a job. Like I have to do this.
Yeah.
And like, I will find ways to make money, whether it's like, I'm a rapper, so I can sell features, but I'm like, at the time, this was in 2021, like right at the beginning of the year. And it was, I had worked at Amazon in 2020, the year prior. That was like my last job, and it paid decent. And I was like, well, I could work there full time. Like I was literally just did like the in processing. I had like a start date to restart. Okay. And I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, it was killing me. I was losing sleep over it. And I was just like, you know what? Yeah. I can't do this. Like I can't. I cannot bring myself to fucking get this job. So what I did, no bullshit, I hoard myself out with features, and I was selling them at the time, dude, for like $250, $300, like whatever I could get. But at the time, like people wanted them so badly, dude. I was selling like 7 features a week, sometimes like 10.
That's awesome.
And I got like well, I mean, it's not new anymore, but like a few years ago, I got a car out of it and shit, like not like a nice car or anything like that, but I had a hoopty before, you know what I mean? So it was like,
I still got one.
Yeah. It's just like I upgraded from a piece of shit to like, just a nicer looking piece of shit.
Yeah.
But it's like, I did all that just off of feature money, and I'm like, damn, like maybe I can stabilize. And then, that was when I met all those funk producers, and I started, working in that. And then every few months I'd start to see, my royalty earnings start to climb and climb and climb and climb and climb. And I'm like, oh fuck. I just like was able to do that full pivot. And so trying to apply that might be a little bit difficult because times were so much different than they are now. Like,
but I will tell you there's a couple ways you can go about it. I'm still doing it where if you really don't make money, you could go to school for free. I've been going to school for free for a while. You go to audio engineering school. I went to audio engineering school. I didn't
Mhm.
graduate from the program, but you did. And then you're fucking networking with producers all day, people that take
Mhm.
it serious. You can bring your costs down. If you're being smart, if you're not fucking ordering every meal on DoorDash and you're not whatever, if you do submit, you could get on EBT. You could, I mean, I could, like, if there's someone out there that is in the position that we're talking about where you're like, I'm dead serious, I'm about to tell my wife, like, I'm quitting my job to do this, and but I got like whatever, you could DM me and I'll fucking help you, like, whatever. If you're dead serious, there's avenues out there, but you will be tested every step of the way it is emotionally so chaotic and it is so difficult. And I am just so thankful to all the people in my life that eventually were able to get on board. Cause I had to there were people that got weeded out that were just like, you're insane or whatever. And when you follow your internal compass, you know what I mean? It just pisses people the fuck off because they start to realize that they're not doing it. But that's awesome for you. Before we even get any further, because you gave all this information and everything you said, it makes me want to ask, well, how'd you get there? I want to bring it back to the very beginning so we could just go.
Yeah.
Let me get that, because I have one question for like every part of the chronology that you just said, especially for how did you even get to, because even to be at the point where someone's happy to pay $250 for a feature is a good position to be in.
It eventually went up a lot more.
Good,
on,
dude. I mean, that, like, it's like if someone,
Oh, at the time, dude, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah, you're over the moon, I bet. So anyway,
So
you're from south of Berkeley, south of Oakland area.
The Bay Area.
I was explain that a little more.
Yeah. So I'm originally born and raised in the Bay Area. I was born in Antioch. I was raised between Pleasanton, California, and Hayward. My parents are divorced, so that's the reason for the back and forth. But like all my family still lives on the West Coast for the most part, like California in general, all throughout both the Bay Area and Southern California.
And did you have exposure to extreme music when you were young, or what got you initially? Can you talk just about, what was your journey into music where they scream or have low tuning or anything like that?
So like the initial thing was probably around the time, like how most kids started off listening to, like, it's kind of, I look at metal like that as like a drug in that sense, you like a lot of kids start with Linkin Park. That's what I started with. And then it's like, all right, what's the next heaviest thing? Slipknot. And then you find like that's like your new metal. That's like where the new metal thing starts. So, at the time, my cousin was listening to Linkin Park, Slipknot, Static X. And like, I'm going to his house watching him just like play games and stuff like that on Xbox. And I'm just like, I'm like a 10-year-old kid, like 10, 11 years old, something like that. And he had like a CD player. I didn't even have a CD player at the time, but he just had like this collection of CDs, and it was all new metal. All new metal. And like
family a little square.
No, not really. Like, my dad always liked like rock at the very least. So but my cousin was just like, he was going through like rebellious 20s. So he was into like all kinds of like heavy shit. Well, at the time it was like heavy, but like, it was basically all new metal. So that, like, I started with new metal and then escalated from there. So like at this point, I'm like in middle school, probably like 7th or 8th grade or something like that. And I had a group of friends that was listening to we found Waking the Cadaver was one of them on YouTube. This is like just before I got introduced to like metal vocals, like the death metal growls. We'll get to that in a second. But like, they found this gold mine of like Cannibal Corpse, Necrophagist, Cattle Decapitation, Waking the Cadaver. And then there was a show at this old venue that's not around anymore in San Francisco. It's called The Pound. And there was a show that was Arsis, Necrophagist, and Cattle Decapitation. And unfortunately, I was not old enough to appreciate this. However, we did go. And it was...
So you saw Necrophagist?
Dude, one time.
Yeah. Well, of course
one time. And I was like maybe 13 years old or something like that. Not old enough to appreciate it. But I remember like, a lot of it, and like just being in the environment, and like, I was like, dude, this is fucking so sick. And yeah. So, I mean, and you could probably look up that tour still. I mean, it was that was a crazy tour, but that was like my introduction to metal at the time.
Okay, so you got a great one.
Yeah. So, and then from there, it was like my friend already played guitar. And he like actually two of them already played guitar, and they're like, hey, we're like starting a band with this other guy who plays drums, and they're like, dude, we need a vocalist, and there was no one who stepped up to the plate. And I was I had tried and kind of noodled around with like guitar and drums and bass, and nothing really stuck, nothing really, I was like, man, everything takes so damn long to learn. And at the time, this is like YouTube, like I said, was brand new to the internet. There was no metal vocal tutorials, like a metal vocal coach. People were like, are you fucking crazy? Like, what the fuck is a metal vocal coach? That's insanity. So people were like, that's so bad for your voice. But I'm like, man, I was really inspired by Corpse Grinder, and I might butcher his last name, but Mohammed Sawismez from Necrophagus.
Yeah.
And that was like my initial, like, I'm like, that's the sound that's what I want to sound like. And like Nurgle from Demigod era Behemoth. So it was like their black and death metal era. I forgot that was another one. So like we went to Sounds in the Underground too, and eventually and I saw them. But yeah, that was like my blueprint for what I wanted to sound like. And I'm like, I bought a $10 microphone, or I had my mom buy it. It's like a plug and play kind of thing. Downloaded Audacity, and I started just growling into the microphone and shit. And I sent my buddy samples that played guitar in the first band. They were called Gutted Remains, and supposed to be just like a death metal band. And he was like, dude, this sounds fucking sick. He's like, let me make you like a like a scratch track for you to just like, guitar and drums, and just record something on it. Just try your best to just make some shit. And I was like, okay. So it was like a minute and a half, and I did something on it, and it was like good enough to where they were like, dude, you should be the vocalist for our band. And I was like, dude, fuck yeah. So that was in like 2006. Now we went on in 2007 to No Shit. I brought it for the interview. This is the very first. This is actually the master copy. No shit. Let me pull out this fucking CD for you. Master or Gutted Remains master copy. Yeah, this was it. This was the very first like demo we ever did. Recorded in the Bay Area.
And did they do it at their house, or you guys they went to someone to do it?
Yeah, so we went to like a home studio.
Okay.
There was a guy that was in a local band who he was actually really good. I mean, it sounds really good, but like we weren't amazing.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it's a piece of my history, and I keep it. Like I've literally, this was given to me, and it's the only one. But it was given to me by the engineer, and I kept it. I held on to it. But yeah, so that was like my start. And then we played local shows, no bullshit, with like bands like, not as Gutted Remains. Gutted Remains ended up breaking up in end of 2007, early 2008. I was still trying to be active in the scene because I was, hadn't graduated high school yet. I was like 16, 17 at the time. So I joined this other blackened death metal band called Immortus, not Ex Mortis, but Immortus. And they were a lot more advanced. They had a drummer that could blast beat, and that was like the first time I had ever encountered like a drummer that could play that fast in real life. And I was like, oh,
yeah. And were these dudes older than you?
They were like a year older. So they were
so
they were like 17, 18, whereas I was like 16, 17. So they were getting ready to graduate high school, and I was like still a year behind.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were sick, they ripped, and they were serious. And so that was all I needed. And so I ended up doing this. It was called the Infernal Assault. And this is clearly a lot more like brutal with the inverted crosses and shit. This is like a lot more blackened death metal. I did that, and then another promo in 2008 with them. So like a total of 6 tracks with them. And we played shows with No Shit, Fallujah, and this is back when Fallujah was like deathcore. This is before they went like tech death like they are now. And playing like the real atmospheric stuff that they used to play like just straight like deathcore. And like well, back in the day, a lot of people were kind of like, you know, hardcore and death metal don't really mix and all this kind of shit. You know, it was like very like a lot of stuff in the metal scene, especially in like the Bay Area, was like super divided. Now everything's under one umbrella, so it doesn't really matter, neither here nor there. But I just remember I have like memories of that, you know.
But even like when this was going on for us, I mean, there were normies into this when it was metalcore and deathcore. I mean, that was like almost mainstream for a second for us.
Yeah,
so like around this time, so it was like, you know, I mean, we were definitely meeting. There were girls and stuff who would go to the shows. It wasn't like when me and my drummer would be like, "Hey, you guys want to see a gore grind band or something?" They would be like, "What the fuck?" Like, you know what I mean? Like at this point in time, 2007, 2008, this was almost mainstream.
Yeah.
Maybe not necrophagist style, but if we're talking like a deathcore, metalcore style, there was a lot of that going on here. Yeah. So keep going. Cool. So you end up dissolving with them by what, 2009?
Yeah. It was actually about 2009 was when I left. They did a farewell show, and then everybody, basically the band, you know, split. They all went to college. Two of them went to UC Berkeley College, or not UC Berkeley. Sorry, Berkeley College of Music. Which is, I mean, cool. I don't know if they're pursue. I think two of them went on to become like real professional musicians, which is kind of funny because I think one of them still plays extreme metal. And then there's me. I don't know what happened to our bassist and the other guitarist. I think they just live normal lives, which is fine. The music life is not for everybody, but and then for me, I left to join the Army.
And then was that something your parents pushed you into, or what? Where did your interest of that comes from? Because it's curious to me that as a rebellious 18-year-old, you say, "Hey, you know, I would like to try that." It seems kind of formal, or a little less It's not like super rebellious.
Well, it kind of was in my mother's eyes.
Okay.
And
so that's important context, because I always say, like, you know, when I meet people whose like parents were, I was like, dude, if my dad was a musician, I'd be a fucking accountant.
I know.
Because it was really so important to me to be contrarian, to be to my father.
It really is.
So I'm always dude, if my dad was a fucking musician, I would have thought music was fucking gay.
Yeah, dude. You gotta be your own. You gotta have your own identity, basically. Your own self.
I wasn't going about it in a mature way. To me, it was blindly contrarian, but it definitely was. Yeah. So anyway, I don't mean to interrupt you. Go on.
Yeah. No, it's all good. But yeah, no. So this was 2009. Because I left in 2010. I joined what's called the delayed entry program. So it's like you're still in high school, but you can enlist as long as your parents like sign a waiver for you, pretty much. And so this is so long ago. Trying to remember. So I remember because my dad was in the Marines. So there was that kind of there. I had two cousins that were like a year or two older than me that also, one joined the Army, one joined the Marines. At the time, to answer your question, like what inspired that move. This is kind of funny, but I had one friend of mine who was a metalhead. He's as metal as me still to this day. Who we played airsoft together with like a group of guys. And so he brought me in and was like, showed me airsoft. And so we used to dress up in like uniforms and shit. And just, you know, we played like a really organized game of like, hey, you know, it's just basically, I don't know, think of it like team deathmatch in a video game, but like real life, you know? Yeah. So we used to go out and play that shit all the time. And so one day a few of us were like, man, like, what if we did this shit for real? You know, like, what would that be like? Okay. So there were, I think, 5 of us out of like maybe a 10-man group that like joined the military, like some branch, whether it was like Navy, Army, Air Force. Most of us joined the Army. I think there were like 4 of us that joined the Army. but yeah, me and one other guy joined specifically the Army Infantry, otherwise known as 11 Bravo. That's the identifier, the job identifier for that. That's what it's called, an 11 Bravo. So that's what I did. And yeah, like that's I made that, like, originally I wasn't going to be an infantryman, but I don't want to say I got coerced, but like when I was at the recruiting station, I was like gonna do some like what they call like a pogue job, which is like it's like basically non-combat arms.
Yeah.
And so this recruiter who was an infantry guy, he was like, wait, before you make your decision, he's like, let me show you this cool ass video. And he fucking pulls up his laptop and he loads up this video and clicks play. And dude, it was like 2 minutes it was like a 2-minute montage of like all these fucking, it was probably like special forces and like Army Rangers, like fucking hitting buildings and just shooting shit under night vision and fast roping out of helicopters, jumping out of planes and shit. And I'm like, yo, what job is that? And he's like, 11 Bravo. And I was like, I want to do that. How do I get it? He's like, dude, it's really easy, actually. He's like, he's like, it's like one of the easiest jobs to get. And I was like, oh shit, fucking sign me up. So yeah, I did away with that and I signed up to be an infantryman. And then, yeah, pretty much that's that. The rest is basically history. I don't regret it.
Can you, so you were deployed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you get, in my head, I hear the story and I'm like, dude, Sinizter went over there. He saw those huge spiders. He was fucking blowing down buildings, but he came back with this crazy PTSD, and that's what comes out in his music. You know, like it's easy for me to like really invent like a Hollywood adjacent storyline of that.
Oh man,
why don't you correct that for me?
Yeah, I was about to say, man, it's like everything but Hollywood, actually.
Yeah, no, it was.
So it's totally not what.
Did you have formative experiences there? Were you there? Were you like, fuck this? What was your reaction to doing it? 'Cause clearly you're not doing it now.
Yeah. No. So no, it wasn't anything really that was like, fuck this. I actually deployed with an awesome group of dudes, and I'm so like happy and thankful for the platoon of guys that I deployed with, the whole company really. But yeah, trying to think of like how to say this in like really, really simple. I'll keep it super simple, but basically, yeah. The deployment was just like any other old like infantry deployment, what you'd expect. Definitely not Hollywood though. Not Black Hawk Down, not Lone Survivor, none of that.
Yes.
It's not that. It's what a lot of infantry guys did, at least like what we were doing oftentimes was like I mean shit, like at the time, this is in 2012, 2013, we had to do like our platoon leader, who was like a lieutenant, would have to like, you know, basically make like a PowerPoint presentation to show a captain who was our company commander. And that would be like, kind of like, hey, this is what we're proposing to go out on a mission and do. Oftentimes it was what we call a movement to contact, which is like, we're just going to go into this village, talk to some people and hope we get shot at, which that's conversation for a different time. That's like, that's a, you know, whole different thing. But so we did a lot of that. We did like a lot of our, like the movements we did were that. And it sounds really bad when I explain it, because it's like, I'm not trying to paint the military any sort of way, but it's just like a lot of times when you're in like Iraq, Afghanistan at the time, like that's just, you know, that's just kind of how it is.
No,
but yeah, I mean,
I'm very interested. So that you were in Afghanistan, was it, or where were you?
Yeah.
Where in Afghanistan?
Yeah. It's okay. So if you look on a map, it was called Chamkani. So CHAMKANI. And if you type that in, it's like maybe 20-ish minutes from the border of Pakistan. So like sometimes we would get indirect fire too. And a lot of it would be from like the Pakistan area. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is around Al-Qaeda training ground and stuff like that.
Yeah. Basically,
I've seen a lot of interesting, or I've read a lot of interesting stories, especially from, I'm a big fan of Ben Anderson. Ben Anderson was back when Vice still had some kind counterculturalism to it.
Oh,
Ben
yeah,
Anderson did a lot of good documentaries on that. There's a lot of good stories of journalists being kidnapped in this area. So it's something that is it has a mystique. Definitely has a cool mystique of danger to me. So I am very interested. It's not boring to me at all. I love to. I would be fucking scared, bro. Like I would have been scared.
You know what's so weird, dude, is like funny you brought that up, because back then when I deployed, I was 20. I had my 21st birthday when I was in Afghanistan. When I deployed, dude, the last thing I was thinking about was dying.
Really? And then did you see death?
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, shit, it was all, I mean, there's like one really, really crucial moment. I won't like go too deep into it, but to finish like what I was saying just a second ago was I like was totally not like the thought of like, damn, we could die, like it crossed my mind, but it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like existential like it is now, you know, where I'm like, I have these things that I'm building and I'm like, oh man, like I don't want to lose any of this shit, you know, or it's like, I wasn't like, I kind of like, I guess my ego now is more alive in my 30s than it was when I was in my 20s, especially when I was like that young,
that makes sense,
you know,
but your ego in a functional way.
Yeah.
Where you are the orchestrator of multiple things.
Yeah.
I didn't have that when I was fucking 20.
I feel needed now, like by my wife, by like just people around me, fans, whatever, you know, but like back then I didn't have anything. I had like my family and shit, but it was like, I'm going to serve my country. And I guess, I don't know. I don't want to say I was necessarily like brainwashed, but like, it wasn't, that kind of thing wasn't on my mind. Right. But so, you know, to answer your question, did I see death? So like, there's one highlight moment that I'll try to highlight as best I can in this interview without I don't want to make it sound too traumatic. This was like, what year are we in? 2025. This is October of 2012. But yeah, I mean, there was like the area that we were in, it's called a COP, which is like a company level outpost. So it's like kind of big. There's like some decent stuff. It's not like, if you watch the movie Restrepo, it's not like that where they have like, they're in like a little tiny outpost where they don't have shit.
Okay.
Like this COP that we were on had at least like some showers and some, you know, washer and dryer that worked sometimes, but this is just providing some visual context.
No, for sure. Like I said, I've watched a lot of Ben Anderson stuff.
Yeah. So just to kind of, you know, so you can visualize this as I'm explaining it. But so where we were at there, like our outpost sat like up here, but down here was like this bazaar area, and that was like pretty much the city of Chamkhani. But there, like the strip ran pretty much into Pakistan. Like if you drove far enough, you could basically get to the Pakistani border. And it was like a hot spot for what we call VBIDs, which is a vehicle-borne IED. And just like there were all kinds of bomb makers, like suicide, like people making like, you know, just, you know, detonating themselves and shit. SVES, you know, we call them. But so there was a what we refer to as a MASCAL, which is like a mass casualty event that happened, but it wasn't on US soldiers. It was on like civilians. Like they're like Afghan civilians. And so this explosion happens.
This was from a terrorist group against
that
were attacking US allied Afghan civilians.
No, these are just like regular everyday Afghan civilians, basically.
Okay,
like
that had nothing to do with even helping you guys out.
No, like this was just like they're just there, and then boom, like so.
Meaningless.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it might have been to stir the pot. I don't know the upper level. I just know that this event took place, and then the following was basically what transpired after that. But pretty much, they hauled all of their. They knew that there was an American like base up there. Like they knew that because like the guys that were there before that we took over, and they like we call it ripping out. They used to do, you know, their little key leader engagements and talking to the village elders and stuff like that. So they knew that we were up there.
Totally.
and they knew that we were there to try to provide help and support, you know, as needed if they needed it. So what they did once this happened was they brought all of their wounded in like these like shitty little like, you know, cars. Like, I mean, these are like little 4-door. I mean, like you want to talk about a hoopty. There were like 3 of them that like drove through our compound and like drove all the way up. It was like almost like a maze to get up there, but they drove all the way up to where our landing zone was. This is like a helicopter landing zone.
Yeah.
And like we had a siren go off and we thought like, oh fuck, like, dude, like they fucking breached the wire. So we're like, you know, fucking suiting up and whatever we fucking got on, you know, throwing body armor on. Some guys are running out with no fucking helmet or anything like that. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, where's the fight? We're like we're like manning battle positions around the compound and shit. And we're like, we got people like, yo, go to the LZ. And we're like, what the fuck? And what it was, dude, was that's when we, you know, saw what it was they started like pulling their wounded out of the cars. I mean, this gets like super, super graphic, but I mean, like there's guys that are like, you know, I mean, these are regular Afghan civilians that are, you know, coming out with like arms just like blown off completely. Like, you know, and we have like medics creating basically like a different areas to kind of like setting up areas to like put people in. I can't even remember off the top of my head what it's called right now.
But, like an impromptu camp.
Basically, to like say like, hey, like we can work on this guy, we can save him, or like, I specifically remember there's a expectant is like one category for somebody who's like not gonna fucking make it.
Okay.
So because some of these guys were also like shot up and shit too. So at this point, we're in like full, like, okay, these guys need our help. And we already have like security around like the compound and stuff like that. We got guys in towers and shit. So we immediately like that are on the LZ, we don't need to like be pulling security. So no one's really pulling security. At this point, we're in full, like, okay, we're trying to help our medics out basically that are trying to attend to all these wounded guys. And this, for me, this was like the first time I had ever seen this before. This is like very early on to my deployment. I think I'd been there maybe like a little over a month at this time, because I got there in September. We got to the COP like late September. This was like towards the end of October.
But
yeah, so I had kind of like I guess what they call like a shell shock moment. And this is like non-combat related shell shock moment too. But I'm 20 years old witnessing all this for the first time. And it's just happening so fucking fast. Everybody fucking pulling you every which way and calling your name and say, hey, I need help with this. I need help with this or whatever. Take this, like, you know, and it could be like trying to help, you know, the medic pack gauze into a wound or something like that. And like, you know, but I specifically remember getting called to basically hold a, like a gunshot, like hold like a field dressing over a gunshot wound for a guy that was over in the expectant area. The medic had called me over, and I just like held him, and he's like, keep pressure on this. He's like, I don't know if he's gonna make it, but just don't let him fall asleep. And I'm like, fuck. I just like take it over, and because like, you know, he's basically forcing me into this at this point.
What are you gonna do?
But so I'm like, okay, and so he goes and runs off, and you know, he's attending to someone else, and I'm like trying to keep this guy awake and shit, and he's just like fucking, like I can see his eyes just like rolling into the back of his head and shit, just like in and out and shit. And eventually he just like, I'm trying to like, you know, smack his cheek, and you know, I'm trying to keep his head up and shit. And he just eventually, he just fades out. And I'm like, he just bled out completely. But at that point, I just like looked around on the LZ and was just like, it's just fucking chaos. Like, and this, again, like this was a non-combat related moment. But I'm like, fuck, man. Like at that point, I just fucking froze, man. I was cold, sweating, and like, I hadn't even really done anything. And I'm just like,
that the first time like that, that morality, or not even morality, but that fear came, or the reality of the danger of the situation kicked in?
even then it was kind of still like, I guess in the back of my mind, I always thought subconsciously we're American soldiers, we're better trained, and like this isn't going to happen to us. Like these are just regular civilians.
Yeah.
Like there's no possible way that like
Okay.
this could happen to us. Like that
Yeah,
never
yeah.
crossed my mind. Like because, and I guess maybe it was because in my unit we just did so much training and it was just like everything was just always like trying to be so hard all the fucking time to just keep us fucking tough and shit, you know, because it was just like just so that none of that shit ever does happen, you know, or if we are, at least we know how to respond to it. So yeah, that's kind of like, you know, that's just like a surface level sort of incident that just like, that's like a moment that sticks out to me that I remember for sure. So yeah.
So you, dude, and thank you so much for sharing that. I always have.
Yeah.
Literally, like I'm the kind of guy where like when someone tells me that, I'm like, tell me the craziest thing you saw, and then usually people are like, no, I don't want to talk.
Dude,
about
that was, I mean, that's definitely not the craziest thing I saw, but it is like the first highlight moment where I'm like, fuck, this is for real. Like that was my oh shit moment where I'm like, all right, like, you know, here we are.
So you how long are you in it? You want to get out of this at some point. And now let me ask, while you're here, are you daydreaming about music? Are you missing doing music?
Dude. Fuck. Okay, yeah. So I deployed for like 8.5 months. Well, it was like 8 months and 3 weeks is what it says on my paper. Excuse me. Yeah, 8 months, 3 weeks. So like just shy of 9 months. I spent 6-ish months on this one compound, and then I was really good at being an RTO, which is a radio telephone operator. I was the platoon RTO. So I basically was kind of like attached to our lieutenant's hip the entire time whenever we'd be patrolling. And I did all of his like radio call-ups and shit like that. So anytime we were ever into some shit where it's like, hey, you know, I was working really close with our forward observer. And he's usually talking to like air assets and stuff like that, all that kind of cool shit. And I'm just like, you know, trying my best to keep up with like, hey, you know, we got troops in contact, you know, we're at this position, this location, this grid, that kind of thing. That was like my job while we were on patrol. But yeah, so sorry, what was the question you asked?
The question
was I thinking
I'm
about
trying to
music?
get chronologically.
Okay,
I'm trying to get you from
yeah.
this deployment to all the time. I'd imagine you're kind of dreaming about music, and then eventually, obviously, at some point, you were like, "Fuck this army shit."
Yeah. Well, okay. So, like I said, it was never really. It wasn't fuck this army shit yet. I didn't have that moment while I was deployed because I was like really motivated and I really, really was like believing in what I was doing. And
you have to be you have to be somewhat acclimated to this environment you're in where it's normalized. And like for me, when I'm sitting at my safe house, I'm like, oh, these guys' arms were falling off. It has to be not that. There's obviously like a desensitization to it when you're living there.
Yeah. Well, eventually that's what it becomes. For most people. I mean, it has to be in order for you to continue doing your job. But anyway, so yeah, like I always daydreamed about music still, but like obviously I didn't have any time. I didn't have any equipment. There was no, like, we had downtime, but like in the downtime we're like watching movies and shit together and like
sure. And are you thinking, fuck, I wish I could be in another death metal band? Or are you starting to think of other ideas?
I had an iPod with me too, so I was still listening to music and shit, like, you know, when we're you know, in the gym, not patrolling and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, so I was explaining what my job was. So that was part of the reason why I got moved. So I got there in like the fall, and winter hit, and like when the winter hits, like we're up in the mountains, so like fighting season's kind of like no more for the Taliban. Like it's literally just too fucking cold up in the mountains. So you're still we still did patrols, but it wasn't really that much. So around like February-ish, it was like towards probably like the middle end of February. I got basically, there was a request that came down from like the main forward operating base, which was like a helicopter's ride away. It was up in this place called Gardez. which is the capital of the province that we were in, which was Paktia. So there was a call that came down that was like, hey, it was to our company that was like, hey, we need RTO, like the best radio telephone operators you guys got, like give us like squared away people, because we need people to manage this tactical operating center. They also need to have a secret security clearance, so that like pretty much, you have to have a security clearance to even be an RTO, but like there's like secret and there's top secret. So I had a secret when I came in. So I fit all the prerequisites. So they're like, hey, they sent me, and I'm like, fuck. Basically, so for like the last 2 months, probably it was like maybe 60 days and some change. I basically spent the last like back end of my deployment up in this what we call a tactical operating center, handling all their stuff. Now there was some stuff that went down there. We don't have to get into that because it's like that's like military shit. But when I was there, I basically worked 12 on, 12 off. And when I was off, I could do whatever the fuck I wanted. And I was on a bigger fob that had it had like an actual like cafeteria area. It had like an actual, we call it like an MWR, which is like a place where they have like your like phones, computers, all that kind of shit. Okay. And then like I could also have like, I had like my own little in my sleeping quarters, we'll call it. I had like my own little room that had a desk, and like I had like everything.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of cush. And so I basically set up my laptop, and I was like talking to one of my friends back home who was making like electronic music, which was another thing I was really into at the time. This is like goth industrial, if you can think of it. So like, I don't know if you know anybody like Combat Christ or somebody like that. That's like,
okay.
Yeah. So, I needed a genre that I could like easily kind of like make like, he could make he can make like an industrial beat, and I could just like, do some shitty vocals on it. Cause I could order Amazon stuff, and I could order just like whatever to the fob.
Yeah.
So
you got like a USB microphone or something. Oh, okay. So you started streaming.
So we had Wi-Fi in like this little, quarters that we were in. So I basically created this project, and it's still around. It's called Nexium. I only recorded one song when I was in Afghanistan, but it's up. I mean, you could listen to it.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's just like some really shitty industrial song.
yeah, whatever.
But
you recorded it.
Yeah, I recorded it. I recorded the first that one song when I was in Afghanistan, and that was like, okay, I want to take this seriously when I get back. So this is like 2013 at this point. And so when I say that I had a very small break in like, not doing music, I mean, it's pretty small, like 3-year gap where I wasn't doing it. And that was just mostly just, most of my military service, I guess.
And that was your training for your stage presence.
Yeah. Well, the metal band stuff really was. The metal bands really was. That's like, right. That was like my bread and butter. But like I had this project, so I started it. And so it was off and on, because like once I got back stateside from that deployment, like I went back to being super busy again. But we ended up crafting an album. It took us like 3 years to do, because time. Mostly me. I just didn't have time to record or anything like that. But we ended up I ended up getting a new writer, and we ended up doing this album. It was actually a girl. She was in a bunch of other industrial projects. She's from LA. She had some other industrial projects that she was in. One notably Dismantled, if you're into that kind of thing. She was briefly in there for a little bit, but she ended up passing away. I don't want to get into how, because it's like, deep, convoluted, but she ended up passing away. And this was around 2016. And so after that, we had the album, and I was like, there was like some notable remixes on there too, which was like big for that genre. But I'm like, damn, like I can't go anywhere with this because no one else makes this type of music. So I'm like, what the fuck do I do? So from there, I ended up in 2017, I was working at a comic book store at the time. and in like 2015, 2016. And a buddy of mine who was also he was in my unit after I got back from my deployment. He was like, "Hey, I'm going to go to this school called the Atlanta Institute of Music." He's like, "You should try to apply. Like they accept GI Bill." And I was like, "Shit." So I put in an application to, or like a, I guess it basically is like an application. But I put that in, and they approved it. Like I had to do like a little interview to make sure, because they're like, like we pride ourselves on having like a really high graduation rate, not
sure.
an attrition rate. Like we don't want you to like join and then do it for like a semester and then quit.
Yeah.
So they're like, you want to do this. And I'm like, yes. So did all that. And then, I enrolled in this school, and I always liked rap music. I always thought about doing it. I tried to. In fact, the very first Sinizter logo was actually created in 2015. Between doing the NXIVM thing, I was also simultaneously thinking like, I kind of want to do, because I was getting into like dark hip hop at the time, or like some people call it horrorcore. And so I always liked that kind of stuff. And I was looking, I was like, I'm never going to be able to put a band together. And like, at least in the position that I was in, being in the Army and shit. So I'm like, I got to start looking at like, what can I do? Just me. And so rapping was one of those things, but I sucked, obviously. But I still had the idea for Sinizter. And so, pretty much, trying to think about this chronologically, but like basically I had like, all of a sudden now I'm in music school in 2017, and I'm in Atlanta. So I'm surrounded by rappers. And I'm like, okay.
So you had real quick, you had moved from Bay Area to Atlanta to go to this school?
No. So I was stationed out at Fort Campbell, Kentucky when I had gotten back from my deployment. So I was already in the South for like a few years at that point. And then my now ex-wife, she was from Georgia. So I had, when I got out of the Army in 2015, it was like summer of 2015, we just left and moved in with her parents.
I see. So then that makes sense. Yeah. So 2017-ish, you're telling me this is when you're enrolled in the school. Do you have anything out as Sinizter, or you just have the experience under your belt of doing this NXIVM album? Yeah.
So I had the NXIVM album out, and then around June of 2017, the very first Sinizter EP came out, and it was a collaborative EP.
Were you getting response on the NXIVM album?
I mean, like a tiny bit, but it wasn't really. It was mostly just on like the remixes that we had, because that was like the big sort of thing. Like, holy crap,
the fans of the guys doing the remix heard it from them.
Yep. Pretty much.
So cool. So you're dissolved from there. You're here now. At what point, first Sinizter stuff comes out, at what point do you start to let's get to where you talked about before, when you said, okay, I got to the point where I said, hey, honey, it's about to be lean for a second, because our grocery money is coming from features.
So that was in like, I had already been doing Sinizter for a minute at that point. Like,
so
it just wasn't.
Before I get too far, starting out at audio, and this is for audio engineering.
Yeah. Initially,
and they're showing you on pro. You go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was just a double graduate from that school as well.
What was the other?
I graduate. So the first one was just a recording certification, and the next one was an audio post-production degree.
Okay, I see. So both for engineering. It wasn't like one for instrumental performance or anything.
So the degree side of things took me through a poetry and songwriting course, and that was what like reshaped my whole thing. Like I had like a kind of like a basis of like lyric writing, but then like poetry and songwriting. The final project, this is the dopest final project I ever had when I was going through college, was make a song and perform it.
And were there any parameters?
No, like you just make make a song and perform it. That was the assignment
for you. Something clicked for you at that point, where before was it more so that you conceived of the concept and persona around Sinizter than the actual format of it? When you're talking leading up to this, you're telling me that you weren't sold on the rapper thing, but you were sold on something independent, something you can do alone. You were looking, and rapper kind of fit the bill, but it's not like you were growing up wanting to be a rapper or something.
Yeah.
Now,
so
before this, sorry, I don't mean to go on.
No. It's like, I was going to say my vision for myself when I was a teenager and when I was like even younger than that was like, I'm going to be the front man of a metal band. But like, obviously we're here now.
Yeah. So did you have that idea kind of for that persona? Did you feel a sense of power or something when you were speaking from that place of whatever you want to call it, of catharsis, of darkness, or whatever? There was something about the metal, but was it that idea that came before rapper?
No, it was just like I knew that I want to do music. What is the quickest way that I can like get my foot in the door and like get people to kind of like be hip to me and what I'm doing? And this will get into like the whole side project conversation too.
Sure. But you knew you wanted to do something on the darker side. You didn't want to try to do like Ed Sheeran kind of music.
Hell no.
Dark
dude.
side.
I'm wearing a Black Witchery shirt right now, man. There's no Ed Sheeran in my blood.
Ed Sheeran did a track with Cradle of Filth.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think it's still
way,
come out,
dude.
but he really did. He's like good friends with him, but
Dude,
anyway, but no, obviously he's a little on the softer side from what we're talking about. I don't mean to get him involved in this.
Yeah. Extreme. I knew I wanted to do something extreme for sure. Like
there
whatever
was something about that where it just felt right for you when you were on stage, like giving out. Because there's people that really don't like. It's intuitive for me to give everything I have to a performance because I'm seeking like a sense of catharsis. But it's really not intuitive for a lot of other people, even for people in the style. You know what I mean? I see people in the style that don't want to come off stage dripping in sweat or something like that. But it's obviously the school you come from.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, like, I mean, this isn't to get super far ahead, but, the whole like metalhead, like I have never once like ever conformed the Sinizter image. Like the Sinizter branding is like, this guy is very, very clearly a metalhead and he like goes deep with like the metal knowledge, band knowledge, all that kind of shit. Like, but he's a rapper. But it's like you might see me on stage wearing a Gorgoroth shirt. I'm doing this interview now, like I said, in a Black Witchery shirt. I collect band shirts too, but like I collect vinyl. Like I am a metalhead. I am a devout metalhead. But rap was just like a very at the time it was a very quick, and it still is. It's gotten even easier now, but it was just a very quick and easy thing to kind of like jump in head first and like, okay, I want to do this music thing for real.
Totally. When me and now my friends have had a similar trajectory, just where that was what it was out of necessity. Once you realize how fucking hard it is to have a band, your two choices are you could do rap or you could do like what Clay does. You could be a one man. And I was just like, I listen to more rap than I listen to one man band. So I was like, I guess I'm trying that for now.
You can also do what people like Mortis from formerly Emperor do and start a dungeon synth project.
Yeah, that was beyond my. That was But then it's not like it's only like vaguely evil. It's not like overtly powerfully like screaming. You know what I mean? That's totally or what Bard from Burzum did, where he did the same thing. With the little toy keyboard. Like, but
basically,
no, that would have required being able to play the piano, which was way too beyond where I was at. So I'm either screaming over a rap beat or I'm screaming over a fucking Alesis drum beat with a guitar, but I'm screaming over something. And these are the two things you could scream over by yourself.
That's another thing too. That's like that you just brought up is like, it's like, I at the time I played 0 instruments. So, and like my actual music knowledge, like not like band knowledge or anything like that, but like my actual musical literacy level was like none. It was like non-existent. So, it was like, I can rap, I can try to write some lyrics, but like, and like, I got this voice, but that's it.
And I was an RTO and I saw.
Yeah. So I have this like crazy book of life experience to teach from once I get to where I'm trying to go. But like, you know.
So go on. Yeah. So go on with that. So to your enrollment to the school, to when you start doing the Sinizter, and then definitely I'm really excited to get to the point where you're starting to manage yourself in a way where coordinating features, working with things, working out promotional stuff. Let's get there.
Yeah. So, I'll try to just gloss over, like 2017, 2018, 2019 was pretty much all kind of just the same, like just trying to grind, become better. I did have a mentor at the time that was actually teaching me how to rap.
And was this someone at school, or did you meet someone
No,
online?
this was somebody online. But I haven't talked to this person in years. And this lasted all the way up until about 2019. But it was kind of just like training wheels and like showing me like I said, there's a difference between being like a rap listener and like being a rapper and understanding rap and hip hop politics. Cause like that matters, especially when you're not black.
Yeah, go in and go give a little detail about that. Tell me just a quick example of like kind of some of the kind of stuff you would work with this guy and stuff. Would he say, "Hey, check out here's a guy with a, you know what I mean, with a decent vocabulary, check him out, and then listen to a more advanced rapper"? Or
so it wasn't even really like that because I already had like the good influences. It was mostly just kind of like, well, first, like, you know, he would basically teach me how to, you know, form punchlines and form metaphors and like different tricks and shit, you know, but a lot of that stuff kind of just like, it's hard. It's easier said than done, you know, and it took a long time for it to really stick. So a lot of my earlier work as Sinizter it's not punchline bar for bar like it is now. Like now it's like, it's kind of crazy when I do it because it's like second nature to me. Like I went 2 months on tour without writing a single brand new line of new music. I come back here and I'm like, I got some features to do. And I'm like a little bit stressed out and I'm like, knock them out in like 20 minutes. I'm like, oh shit, I guess I still got that dog in me. You know? Yeah. I always think it's like perishable, but you know, it's like sometimes, you know, if the blade is sharpened enough, man, it just goes right in no matter what. But yeah, so that's kind of like the basis. And then like, there was a lot of like, you know, he's like, I, as somebody who's like mentoring you, I really want you to understand like the history of hip hop just respecting the culture. Cause like you're a metalhead, you're coming from the metal side and like, sure. Yeah. You listen to like, you know, rap, you listen to like 50 Cent, some Eminem, some Waka Flocka, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's like, understand where the roots are, you know, because like when you understand that, and I was so glad he did it too, because it was like, when you understand like what you're getting into, then you know how to respect the culture and like, you know how to not overstep, you know what I mean? And like do things that might be frowned upon or something like that. And these obviously are not necessary. Like not everybody, there's lots of rappers currently that probably did not have this, you know what I mean? But it was something that he wanted. 100%. It was something that he wanted me to have. And I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad he did. But yeah, so that lasted, you know, up until like 2019. And then we kind of parted ways, just, you know, nothing, no beef or anything. It was just like, you know, okay, I think I'm good now, basically. And then I was kind of like off, you know, doing my thing and I got the Sinizter thing going. And then 2020, like the pandemic rolls around. So I'm like locked in and I'm like really, really I'm still like, I graduated from almost both programs. I'm still like on the tail end of another one. But I was like pretty much mostly finished with school at that point. And then, yeah, like, yeah, I guess we could gloss over 20. Okay. So the first big notable thing that happened is actually literally the day that I dropped this video on WorldStar. The lockdown in the US was announced and like it was like, all right, this is official. Like we're retreating into our houses for some unknown amount of time. But the day that took place, I actually went to school that day and my video had dropped at like noon that day Eastern time. And I was like thinking to myself, like, oh fuck, because I don't know what the pandemic was, you know. I was just know that this coronavirus is going around, and I'm like, fuck, man, it's like the end of the world, and I'm finally doing it big right now, dropping a music video on WorldStar Hip Hop. I'm like, fuck, you know. So yeah, that video's I mean, it has like 359,000 views now, but like it did really well. The comments are mixed, obviously. If you go look at it, there's a lot of people talking shit, but at the time, you know, I had like, this is the first big thing I ever did. And I felt like I was putting on for the underground, and I felt like, I was like showing people that this could be done from like
No, totally. And yeah, you're talking Russian AK, right?
Russian AK. Yep. That was a song.
Great
And
song, great video. Now,
Yeah.
but hold on, let me cut you off before you go even a little further. What are you doing? So for this time, I understand creatively, you're saying, hey, I was working with this guy. I had a mentor. He's training me on hip hop culture. We're looking at bars. We're looking at stuff. You're really showing respect to the culture. I think that's awesome. But what is your promotional arm looking like at this time? At like when you first do Sinizter stuff, are you just dropping it and then sharing it on Facebook? Are you eventually getting to playlists? This is what I'm most impressed by. Like this part of it was kind of intuitive to you. I know a lot of dudes that have 20 fucking listeners on Spotify because they think they're done as soon as the song is done, and it's just like, bro, that's when the whole other part of it begins. So,
dude,
how did you learn? How did you? Because to even get to the point where you're dropping on World Star Hip Hop, even if you paid for that, because I've looked into doing that before, even if it was something you just overtly paid for, you had to weigh this cost analysis of, am I going to get the exposure that I think is worth paying for? So even just on that end, get us to that point for the people, because I know plenty of people that could would learn a lot from you, what you were doing 10 years ago.
Yeah. So we'll backtrack a little bit. So as far as the World Star Hip Hop thing goes, I did pay for it. It was super insane amount of money at the time. It was like $7,000. I think now you can get them as low as like 4 or 5, just because the economy's trash and they're still
looking at that before, because I had a friend that was, and we really seriously looked at it when we got those when we got our throwaway Project Pat features.
Yeah.
We definitely were seriously I at least looked into it. So I know it's a pretty penny.
Yeah, it is. And again, this, like, when I dropped that was in 2020. I think that was probably like the final year that World Star was like relevant in rap culture. Now it's just like,
I agree, basically
just memes and shit that drop on there, and like obviously industry videos and shit. But at the time there was a prestige that kind of came with it, which was really cool, and that's ultimately what I wanted. Yeah. So, and that's how, at the time, that was how everybody else kind of looked at it too. So I, earlier in 2019, in like August, I was working at Amazon, and I was like, if I bust my ass and like don't spend a fucking dime. I was living with my my ex-wife's parents at the time, so I, like, bills were low at the time. So I was like, okay, maybe I can save up enough money to do this. And so I spent from, I think it was basically like September of 2019 all the way to like February. It was probably like a good like 6 or 7 months of just saving, minimal spending. Damn. I had like even that, I still didn't have quite $7,000. I worked like a bunch of overtime during the holidays. No. Like,
but even I'm sorry. Okay. But even to get to the point where you have the balls to drop $7,000 when you're living at your girlfriend's parents' house, before this, were you looking at playlisting services? Was there anything was this the first like serious promotional thing you did? Was the World Star? Really?
Pretty much. Yeah. So
that's a bold move. I respect it.
Because at the time, all I had was Facebook and like Instagram, but I wasn't clouded on Instagram. I didn't have a following or anything. I had
on SoundCloud or anything, any reposts, anywhere where reposts change, anything.
I had SoundCloud, and I had like everything that I have now. The only difference was the biggest following was like Facebook, basically, because that's where I started. Even before I was on Instagram. And so this is like, that was like 2017, 2018. And there were no like, hey, pay for this playlist or whatever on Spotify. There was no, I didn't know about SoundCloud rap at that time. Like, I didn't know about the alternative rap sort of thing at that point up until 2018. So I wasn't really paying anybody for like SoundCloud reposts or anything like that.
Were you getting any kind of organic reposts on Phonk playlists or like on?
No, I hadn't done the Phonk thing yet. That came after.
But you're doing trap metal. Is there any kind of like, were there reposts from XXX Tentacion fan pages or anything like that?
No. So all we had at the time, and this was 2018 actually. there was a channel that is defunct now, but the channel still exists. You can look it up. It's called No Bands. It was spelled NOBXNEZ. But they used to do these like versus videos. And so they put me up against, I paid the guy like $50 to make me a versus video, and he put the songs that I had at the time. This came out in like, I think like October of 2018. So he put me in the middle, in between of Scarlord, if you know who that is.
Yeah.
It was like, the video was called Scarlord versus Sinizter versus Zillakami, and Zillakami was like really popping at that time from City Morgue. There was a group called City Morgue. So this video, I guess for a YouTube video, it blew up. I wouldn't say it was like viral, but it was like, it blew up for its time. It blew up enough for me to get like 5,000 subscribers on my YouTube, and I had like 2 music videos on there at the time.
If you paid $50 to get 5,000 YouTube subscribers,
I know, seriously.
So was this a page you were engaging with as a fan, or did you start looking, or were you like looking?
I was trying to look for promotional stuff, because I was like, dude, we don't have shit. Like a lot of what we had was just like, so this kind of goes back to like the whole Juggalo thing, because which will become relevant later in the Sinizter arc. But early on, I was playing a lot of local shows out here in Atlanta, and some of the very first shows I played were to the local Atlanta Juggalo scene.
Yeah.
And so like that, because I was making horrorcore at the time, basically, like essentially when there isn't the variety like there is now, it doesn't get as compartmentalized. So even before, how you were like, no, I wasn't doing funk, I was doing horrorcore, Memphis rap. Now, you know what I mean? Back in the day, it was fucking horrorcore, but like that's all there was. It was all just, it was bands that liked 3-6 Mafia is all it was, because there wasn't all these different. Now I see like you have it really dialed in on your Spotify thing. Here's back to 2022 funk, and here's whatever. We didn't have all that. It was fucking, there was Lil Ugly Mane, and he liked 3-6 Mafia, and we liked 3-6 Mafia, and that was the only fucking choice there was. And Great Dig and whatever. Yeah. There weren't
we
all
didn't
these
have,
like,
we didn't have 5 different kinds of funk to choose from.
If you wanted to do anything that was even remotely dark, you were going to do horrorcore. Like that's just what it was.
Like even it was straight up. It was like fucking ICP was the same as fucking. It was all just shit that normies didn't like. Yeah. Even now normies like it. And
literally.
No, they didn't tour with hardcore bands. Now they tour with hardcore bands, and it's cool. And it's a good idea, but no, we didn't have the option to pick Brazilian versus Russian funk, and it was all.
And it's so crazy, because there's so many people. Just as a side note, there's so many people that don't even like that attend the Gathering, which I mean we'll get to that in a second, because that was the whole experience in itself. But dude, there's hardcore bands that play at the Gathering now, and it's like there's juggalos that are fucking metalheads that they eat that shit up, they love it, and it's like, man, there was a time when like there was only Juggalo rap, and like those were two completely separate things, and like there weren't as many Juggalos that probably liked a hardcore band or something like that, like they 100%.
Do now. And I know from experience, we showed up, my band played we popped up we played in the campground last year. We were a death metal band. We played because we didn't. I tried getting us on the gig a couple times, but I forgot to follow up. But regardless, 10 years ago, no, Juggalos actually were outsiders. And then it was YouTube, because all these YouTubers came in and did all the documentaries on it. Then everyone else started going either semi-ironically or whatever, get your bag. Like, I think it's cool. I always thought it was cool. But no, there was not crossover like that. And it was segregated, and it wasn't, I'm not harking back for that, but no, it wasn't like, it really, Juggalo shit really was kind of on the outside, and it was frowned upon. And maybe a lot of the bands that do it now wouldn't have been as excited to do it. And the management definitely wouldn't have had the means to pay them to, like, when we walked in, it was Static X playing, and it was whoever the hell else. We saw ICP, we saw Static X. That's all we saw. But again, no, it wasn't. That.
I mean, but their rosters are fucking built now. But anyways, I digress. So 2017, I was always doing shows. That's like, so key takeaway here for anybody, listening to this, I was always doing shows. The other second thing was that I always had merch. Those were two really, really crucial things. That was something that I brought with me from the metal side, where we're always doing shows, like we always played around the Bay Area. We never played like out of state or anything. But we always had gigs on the weekends all the time. And then we always had shirts, because it's like, how the fuck are we going to make money? You know what I mean? So we always had CDs. We always had just at least a logo t-shirt, just something, to just promote it. Cause the thing is like any show attendee, bro, like I would say at least like 50 to 60% of those people want to buy merch if they fuck with you. So it's just always good to just bring something. But yeah, so and a lot of rappers don't do that. They haven't really quite hit the whole like, man, merch is really important. I need to value this, especially as a means of making money.
They don't get it from just the way a band understands it.
Yeah,
like
bands
utilitarian. They don't have like a utilitarian understanding of whatever. But continue. I don't mean to interrupt.
But yeah, so so 2017, so 2018, like early on, I think it might have been January, February, I opened for this rapper named Isham, who was like Juggalo royalty. Yeah. So that was like my very first time, like that was my first real exposure to like any sort of Juggalo audience. And then it kind of just went from there. It snowballed from there, because the guy that I was like booking shows with at the time at a local level in Atlanta, like he mostly did Juggalo shit. And so it fit at the time, even with in 2018, I had that slight pivot to like, cause I found a more aggressive style, which was like, the heavier trap shit that I do now, but it was obviously significantly less developed, but it still was like heavier. But I was still like, no, I still want to play these shows. Like, even if they're Juggalo shows, like, I don't care. It's like, it's all I could get at the time too.
Yeah.
And so I didn't give a fuck. I just know that there's people here, like, they got their faces painted. Like, I kind of didn't really know what, like, I listened to some of that stuff at the time, and like on Facebook, it was really, really adjacent. That was where all that shit was like, Facebook Juggalos and all that kind of thing. And like, I was operating with rappers that were other horrorcore rappers that were deeply involved in like Juggalo stuff. So that was like, I always was involved in it in the early days, but I broke away from it for a while because I was breaking away from, I kind of saw that scene, like a lot of those rappers in that scene. I hate to say this, but this was my mindset at the time, but I'm like, a lot of these rappers are not going anywhere, and I want to go somewhere. So I'm like, I saw the alt rap, or what they call alt rap now, SoundCloud rap, whatever you want to call it, trap metal, as some people call it. I saw that happening, and that's when I pivoted my sound, started picking aggressive beats, and that's when I started kind of doing the yell. And the yell, so the way I started the yell, because I didn't always yell, the first couple Sinizter releases, I started with a song called Devil Speak, which is like, I mean, you can watch the video. That was like one of the songs that got traction when that No Bands video popped off. It was like inspired by like Waka Flocka, but I was like, that was the first song I was like doing the whole like yelling or scream rap thing. And it was kind of meant to be like the way I started developing the scream. Once I like played it back enough, I was like, okay, maybe I can do like a cross between like Corey Taylor and like Chuck Schuldiner. So it's like, it's got like a screech, but still like kind of sounds hype a little bit, I can still kind of hit it with some staccato and like still kind of
the words.
Yeah. Like, intelligibility was like really, really important to me, because there's like a lot of rappers that do the scream rap thing and you can't understand a fucking word they're saying. And it's like, dude, like this is still hip hop at its core. Totally. Like that's what a lot of people forget, is it's still, and this kind of came into like the whole, like I'm simultaneously being taught these things about the hip hop culture, but I was also going to school. So in my mind, my whole mindset at this point has developed into, I'm being taught orthodoxy and rules, but the whole point of rules to me are like, teach me the rules of this so I can break them all.
And that's what it's just, And I heard you talking about that with the guy when you were talking about, you said you had a more orthodox producer when you were doing the pure fucking trap metal EP, and you had to, or maybe it was you were talking about, but you were telling him how you had to really coax him into pushing the master. But
that was an engineer that I had at the time.
An engineer that you
Yeah,
had, and you had to use,
an engineer.
because that's what, dude. Because I would interact with people, they would be like, bro, listen to, because at the time you're talking about, I saw we went to see in Erie, it was in bumfuck nowhere in Erie, PA, at the Veterans Hall. It was Ski Mask the Slump God with Ronnie J. And there was 20 people there. I sat at the piano with Ronnie J. It didn't mean anything to me because I wasn't that hip to it. I had friends that were big on this was February of 2017. They were just big on the meme rap wave. And then 3 months later, we see him with 20,000 people with XXXTentacion. But anyway, I was impressed by the show. But anyway, I would be like, dude, do not press the master like that if you don't know what you're like you doing that is a totally different than, so like, do not just do that. You know what you're doing, like your shit, like that pure fucking trap metal, that takes that kind of style, but does it in an elegant way where it's well produced. Like some of that shit, it's like, yo, XXXTentacion can get away with this because he has such a surplus of real life character that we don't care that this actually kind of sounds like shit and is wrong, in the sense that this is wrong that you have that going on the master. Like, it doesn't sound good. When you play it on a big system, it actually gets quieter because it's not mastered right. But it's like, this guy gets a pass because he's a real life cartoon character, but you are not. So stop. Do not ape this. You don't understand. You have the background to understand what you're doing. If you do the same thing as these people, this is what I'm trying to get at. This is what you're saying. You can do the same thing as these people, but you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like, the sound is more popular. I've always been somebody who's like, okay, so here's the thing. So obviously I have my side projects, and like I said, we'll get to that are significantly many of them are intentionally not popular, because I don't care about popularity for some things. However, for what I need to do to pay the bills, I have to pay attention to what's popular. So for this specifically, for Sinizter, I am much more open to like being experimental and like doing things and chasing trends typically sometimes, because I have a life, and I have like, this is what I do to keep the lights on, to keep people around me fed and shit. But yeah, so like I did see that scene was getting a lot more attention from like just users, fans, that kind of thing. And I was like, 100%. Okay,
yeah, it was really blowing up for a second.
You had guys like Ghostmane and Puya and Fat Nick, and I mean XXXTentacion, and like,
this
Ski
was
Mask.
really blowing up for a second.
Yeah,
even so before that, I mean, we love Stitches. We thought Stitches was hilarious.
Yeah. But like the tail end of that Hallmark, because that Hallmark kind of started in like 2015 ish, but like went all the way to like 2020, and like a little bit after that. But then after like, yeah, so I saw that as like a bigger deal, and I'm like, I think I can push this sound, and I'd much rather do this and have a more modern, I saw it as a lot more modern sound, and then use that to develop my sound. Because ultimately it was kind of like, some people are going to hate me for saying this, but I was like, I viewed it as, this is a lot more metal adjacent for me, and it feels more natural for me to be able to pick heavier beats that have this crazy distorted 808. Some of them have guitars, which was a new thing at the time. There used to not even, there was a time in like 2018, people hadn't really put guitars on like a rap beat.
No, not like on that EP you did, where it's really in your face, like, but good sounding guitar. Like, it sounds like Bring Me the Horizon. Like, it sounds like a real fucking band guitar. No, that's that. Again, it was so much fun, but in 2017, like that XXXTentacion stuff, it sounded like crap. In a good way. In a fun way.
At most, dude, people had like MIDI guitar, like VSTs.
It was not like that. You have like a clean ass, gentle.
Yeah. So like,
No,
the
no
guy,
one had that. That's what I'm saying.
but
That's totally new.
at most prior to that, that was all people were really using is like, oh
That's
man,
what I'm saying. I totally agree with you.
found this cheap, shitty guitar VST that I'm just going to
They're
use to
using the built-in Slayer guitar on
yeah, pretty much
Studio. Now you have all these contact libraries and shit. If you want to type in a fucking sick ass gent guitar, no, in 2017 you did you had cracked FL10 and you used the stock guitar in it.
Yeah, and so this guy, his whole thing, his name is Brian Spencer. The guy who did the pure fucking trap metal.
His shit sounds good.
He was like the first person to really do that. And it was the first person that I saw that did that. And he was like, he hit me up on Instagram and was like, dude, he's like, let me send you some beats. Like he was just starting out too, but he's like, man, I got this really cool idea. He's like, I actually play guitar. And he's like, this is what my beats sound like. He's like, I do like the, regular trap beat thing, but I fucking, put some guitar rhythm behind it
and shit, but it's a good recording. It's not like oh, I sampled like a cassette recording of a bit. It's like, no, this is really now finding its feet where I can hear this on a Bring Me the Horizon album. I can hear this on, this is that now we have the character, but now it's being pulled off professionally. I guess that's what I'm really trying to say is that's when it started being pulled off in an elegant, professional way, as opposed to this SoundCloud stuff. It was so much character, it was so much fun. I was a big fan, but it was not pulled off in a way that was professional. If you ask me.
By the way, sidebar, this is actually why I really started fucking with CR is because I love what Clay does because Clay's a rap guy, but he plays slam. He plays like slam porno grind. But I'm like, yo, I like in the new Check a Bag shit, he's like sampling Waka Flocka, and I'm like over like hella heavy fucking slam, and I'm like, dude, that's fucking sick, man.
Even the snare choices and the wet, like
dude,
you know what I mean? You could
tell, dude, like
that's where I come from too. I was big into hip hop before, and I was like, I mix my shit. I was like, my snares are super high because I want it to sound like clap. I want it to sound like rap music.
But I think that is so. Like it's underappreciated right now, but later on, like I know now people are kind of coming around and discovering, Clay and CR and all that, and like really seeing like, oh damn, like he probably influenced Peeling Flesh low key, like what I mean? Like
of course he did, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I'm saying other people are coming around and seeing.
Oh
that,
yeah, I know. I mean, I think they're still behind.
You know what I mean? And it's like, oh shit, but. People pay attention to what's popular, and that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But if you know Clay and you see his work, you're like, you start piecing it together, and you're like, oh shit, dude, that's great. He was doing that shit before people thought that shit was cool.
Oh way, dude! Even in metal, he was a fucking weirdo, dude.
Dude, that's just lit.
Even the brutal death metal guys thought he was fucking weird. It was not like, no, that's Clay, and he was doing that in 2007.
Yeah, but it's funny because like another thing too for me is like I'm a huge fan of Mortician.
Yeah,
always have been. That was another gateway band that I discovered when I was discovering all those other heavy ass bands. Mortician was really big, and so I use that even now as an influence for me too. Like especially with like the shorter like brutal death metal songs that I'm starting to craft now, and like the later Sinizter stuff. They're like movie samples, of course. Like
of course.
A brutal death metal song would not be complete without a sick horror sample, But I for me, Mortician is very influential for me in that regard as well. That was like Brian was like at the time he was the very first person. Now there's a ton of people that play guitar, and that whole shit is like almost like normal now to see. It's like kind of the standard actually. Like if you still see somebody programming guitar on a trap metal beat, it's kind of like, I don't know if this is like, it'd have to sound really fucking good. Cause now it's just easy to like a lot of these guys, they buy like loop packs. Like they'll make you a custom loop pack for like your producer, and you can buy the guitar loops of like you want death metal riffs, you want thrash riffs, you want black metal riffs. I'm a big black metal guy. So I've done some blackened trap metal songs before.
I know, on that pure fucking trap metal one, and like when the I'm like, he's really got a blast beat with like a real upfront black metal riff on this rap
I mean,
song. And it makes sense. I was again like, because I heard this is what if the SoundCloud rappers really had a pedigree in metal and really had a professionalism to them, this is what they wanted to do, but they didn't actually have that. This is what they were kind of sketching at or hinting at, and now it's being more fully realized in someone like you. So I respect that out of it.
Because like a lot of the scream rap or trap metal people or guys that were making that, especially like, you name like XXXTentacion, that's like a big one, or Scarlord even too, or Zillakami, like a lot of what those guys listen to, and even like the guys who are underneath them, like even me, right? Like, but a lot of what guys who are in 2018, a lot of the influence for that kind of stuff is like new metal. These guys aren't there. Like the extent of their musical scope is like, and I'm not, necessarily trying to knock them or anything.
No, I'm on the same way, but I'm like, bro, I am
like,
an uber fucking metal nerd. Like, no, I know that I met these bands. I know the lineage of where they came from. I know which band led to the development of slam, which developed, like, what I mean? I'm like, I know this shit, and I know that you do not know that. Like, I know you, like when they, because I even laugh, I was even freestyling earlier because I was stoked to do this interview, but like how they always say, like, I'm dropping in the mosh pit, and it's like, funny,
dude,
it's man. If it's a push mosh, it's totally not anything crazy at all, nothing comparable to like street violence or like anything you're talking about. But like, and then if it's a crowd killing thing, it's like you would just say I'm crowd killing, or so, you know what I mean? They always say like, you could just tell it's from an outsider perspective. That's all they mean. Like they're looking at it like, whoa, bro, like I'm jumping in the mosh pit going crazy, like white boy crazy.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because
talk about it.
Yeah, it's there's what was I gonna say? What were we talking about a second ago?
We're talking about just, you understand, like, those original SoundCloud rappers did not have a lineage.
Oh, yeah.
So they couldn't incorporate like how you're now, like, because everyone, like, when you go to engineering school, these guys know how to, like, you know what I mean? They play in one, or they know how to engineer guitars, and they're into metal. Those are the kind of guys that are into metal. You have guys now. That's what's so great. In the SoundCloud era, it was rappers that heard Limp Bizkit and said, like Lil Pump, like that Lil Pump mosh pit song where it's like,
terrible,
go crazy, slit your wrist in the mosh pit.
It's
like
stupid. It's
bro, like a band would never sing like that. But
it's like you are so out of touch with this. But it's like,
that's like what my mom would say about it. You know what I mean? But anyway, but you're pulling it off in a way now, because you're pulling it off in a way where you have a pedigree, where you have that actual connection to, you understand and respect the lineage of metal, and your producers are on that wave too. So that's all I was trying to get at.
Yeah. But it's like you even have, like, like I said, there's like rappers that made notable songs. Their scope is still so narrow. Like it's just like they only listen to new metal, and it's like, okay, cool, you can combine like elements of new metal, and like that's fine. But to me, for trap metal, that's like orthodox. And I'm for the sake of Sinizter, right? I'm into pushing boundaries. I want to see, like, if this is a bar, right? I want to see like how far can we bend this bar before it just completely snaps. And maybe it just doesn't snap. Maybe it just doesn't. The snap would be like the peak, right? Where it's how far can this go? So it's like I started, like, with pure fucking trap metal. I was like, dude, what if we had a blackened trap metal song? Even though as a devout black metal guy myself, like, I was like, oh my God, there's probably people in the black metal community, if they saw this, they'd be like, oh my God, this is so like not true cult of you. This is so this is so, but at that point, I'm just like, whatever, fuck it. I'm just, rolling the dice, throwing darts at a wall, seeing with sticks, and I just want to do cool shit. I want to be the first guy, or I wanted to be the first guy at the time to be like, I did this, and like no one else even tried it. I ended up in 2023, I ended up doing another song called Echoes. That's like even more, it has like a kind of more of like a tremolo pick. Well, I guess the other one is also like tremolo pick too.
The other one was definitely tremolo pick with like a blast beat.
This other one though is like, I guess kind of more reminiscent of like a Dark Throne, Transylvanian Hunger type era riff, but
Classic
it's really fucking cool. And it's even cooler than Call from the Grave, the song that's on Pure Fucking Trap Metal. But yeah, it's just like and then there's even like we put like you know, I was like, dude, what if you did some like D beat shit, you know, like just punk, like, you know, punk hardcore D beat, but like put a fucking 808 behind it that's just fucking and then and it dude, it fucking rips. Like we did that shit. Like Fear 666 on that same album kind of has like a thrashier sort of a vibe like that. But then some stuff that I'm working on currently is also like that, where it's like it has like a punk D beat kind of thing, but it has this crazy 808 that's just really driving the song the whole time. And it's just like there's a lot of places that you can go with it if you know what to tell the producer, and just like, hey, make a drum beat that sounds like this, you know, or then let's have a riff that sounds like this. It's like being in a band. You're just you're working with the producer.
Yeah, well, it's a Wild West now. That's what's so cool is, you know, these things being close to mainstream adjacent. Now it's like you have the incentivization for the producer. If he hadn't pursued that before, hey, dude, we might be able to get 10 million plays on a trap metal song that has an 808 D beat that has a blast part, and then what? Like we could put, like, I love the shit from like you know, like Igor.
Oh yeah.
You know, like where it's just like, what the fuck is happening? You know, like crazy.
You have to have a really wide scope of metal and a really wide scope of like trap and hip hop in order to see how far you can bend that bar.
And well, even on top of that, and then a really wide scope of production to even know how to treat those elements, in the sense that like how you would like really to get a good guitar DI is it's not plug and play to get a good guitar DI, especially like those ones on your guys' thing. And it's obviously from someone who had whatever, he's recorded some bands before, he's in bands, probably all of the above, but he obviously had experience with recording that style before, because you're not going to know what the fuck you're like you can make good sounding stuff with a loop pack, no problem at all, but then you're limited to your loops. This guy knew what he was doing, and then that you need the scope to really be able to be experimental in that way, and take something out of it that will be able to resonate with someone beyond, whoa, this is just super crazy.
So that's, I know we got like way off topic, but like, cause we started off talking about like, you know, the initial fan base I was playing for, Juggalos and stuff like that. But so circling back to that so that we can go forward in the timeline though. I mean, like, so Russian AK was like the first big thing that I did, first big hit. And then from there, like I said, I was always finding little pockets to promote my stuff, but it wasn't until 2021 where like, okay, I'm doing this trendy funk thing. And then Spotify comes out with this funk editorial playlist that you can pitch to, that basically all the viral songs or anything that is even potentially viral could get thrown into that playlist. And like, then they had this other playlist. It's still around. It's called Tirade. But it's super biased now. But back when it first came out in 2020, it wasn't that biased. And it was another editorial playlist you could pitch to that was really helpful. And
you didn't have an in on this. You were just pitching it from your thing.
Yeah.
And they playlisted before it.
Eventually. It wasn't until 2021 that like everything came full circle. I really was like, okay, this is what Sinizter sounds like. This is the aggressive stuff. Like I can take this voice and apply it on any type of beat, whether it's trap metal, this Russian drift funk, this like, you know, 2022, like I said, had the you know, 4 on the floor, like we're doing the but with the cowbells in the background, but now it's like aggressive because I'm screaming over it. And like people are like, what even is that? There's no one doing this, you know? Of course now there is. Excuse me. But so pretty much like that's like, you know, I don't know how much further up the timeline you want to fast forward, but that's like 2021 was like really where everything like was going, okay, full speed. By the end of 2021, I'm profitable. And then going into 2022, I'm just on autopilot for like that entire year.
Totally. Yeah. So I would say, like, you know, how my view of like your career has changed, and talking to you for the past 2 hours is I kind of went into it. I hadn't put the pieces together of what was going on, you know, just trend wise.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thought of it as like, oh, you masterminded all this stuff, and now you are a smart guy, you're a personal guy, you're an intelligent and you're a driven guy, but you were also in the right place at the right time with a couple different trends that all bled into each other, where you had SoundCloud rap to another track. And you were now trust me, you were a progenitor on all these. You were ahead of the curve, and you were doing them professionally, and you were doing them well, which is what set you up for, it sounds like, the peak was the funk. You were, by the time funk hit, you were fucking ready for it, and you shit it out, and you got up to, you know what I mean? You were able to ride that wave in a way where you were whatever. So I understand. I hadn't put that together where it's like, no, we'll think it was 2017 SoundCloud rap into post trap metal into funk, and you found a way to get a little bit of motion, get a little bit of ascending motion off of each of those waves. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Like you said it best. Like it was, the biggest thing is right place, right time. And like, but finding that right place, right time, because I'm sure that's a lot of people's like next question is, how do you find that? And it's just like, you got to keep an ear to the ground and like literally just look up, you know. And
yeah, but you also have to be involved with your own process enough to not be dependent on what a trend is telling you to do. And that's where you've struck that balance to have your success, I believe, in that on the one hand, you are driven enough to be an individualist, but you're not rigid in the sense that you are listening to trends, and you do have your ear to the ground. I think both of those are important, because I think that's when if you have someone who's just totally dependent on trends, even if they get a bunch of traction, that's when they're going to fall off, because they're not going to be able to pivot. And your pivots have been smart. I wouldn't let anyone give too much criticism of your pivots, and that all your pivots were only 20 degrees. You never 180'd. You know what I mean? Like, you would just say, hey, I noticed that this trend is coming in. Let's throw some of the cowbells in. You know, it wasn't like I'm a fucking 180. I was doing sad boy rap, and now that funk's like you're not like a poser like that.
You know what's funny is, like I said, some of that has to do with the core image of Scott or Sinizter. I never changed my image. I've looked the same since I came in this.
And
always just some
but it makes
dude.
sense with all those things. It makes sense with funk. It makes sense with trap metal, and it makes sense with SoundCloud rap. So it's like you really just had the right things, and the right things happened, and it totally makes sense. And I bet, but to be fair, right now in 2025, it would be totally fine for Kourtney Kardashian to do a brutal death metal logo. But 10 years ago, it was a little bit riskier of a move, so you deserve the credit where it's due in that regard.
Yeah. And like the other thing too, you know, I came out with this EP called War, Life, Death. Very, very, very recent. That I feel like is a culmination of all that. So if you like pure fucking trap metal, you should definitely check out that EP. But I have features on there from local Atlanta band Left to Suffer, if you know who they are, but also Peeling Flesh.
Very simple.
And when I announced them as a collaborator, people were like, what the fuck? They're like, yo, you got, because it was like Peeling Flesh was like, they just came off of that G Code, like almost sold out every single day tour and shit. And I was working with Demontiel like October of last year. Like, I hit him up, I think, while they were on that tour, and he was like, I'll get you right when we get off. And I was like, all right, sweet. And I ended up getting 2 collabs from him. So that's out now. There's a remaster version I already put out too, that's got like a poppy ass slam snare, which is basically like the remastered version is pretty much what this new EP that I'm working on. I'm already 6 tracks deep out of like 8. That is more, it's more metal inspired. We have little little sprinkles of like rap on top, but it's more definitely a way more metal, less trap, way more metal. There's another collab on there from Peeling Flesh, and it's much more their style, like in the brutal death metal or slam route, I guess, if you will. Demontiel's parts are obviously very slammy, and then mine are more like corpse grinder, like death metal, traditional death metal kind of stuff. But yeah, so there's that. Time, like I said, that's a project I'm still working on. But yeah, War Life Death, something I'm still like really trying to push too, because I feel like it's just the sound overall. It's like, you know, I was really inspired by them, and obviously now like seeing where that sound kind of originated from, somebody like, you know, Cemetery Rapist, it's kind of like, oh shit, like, you know, now I'm watching Clay and I'm like, damn, like, you know, this is all like really, really sick. And seeing so many other bands too, like doing that, adopting the whole, like putting Memphis samples and shit in the music and shit. You got to be careful with it. I sample my buddies that happen to be Memphis rappers.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of, that's my way to sort of circumvent that whole thing there and get away with it. But yeah, so, there's a lot of that on War Life Death. There's a bunch of it on the new EP as well. But yeah, I mean, so that's where I've landed right now, is because doing funk for the few years that I did, I really fucking loved it. Like, even if it was like drift funk, it ended up actually getting me into more of the Memphis funk, and now I'm a lot more familiar with it. And I'm like, okay, I love this shit and I want to bring it into metal. And then when I found Peeling Flesh, I was like, dude, these guys have the perfect fucking recipe. And then, like I said, I look at guys like, you know, Clay, and I'm like, dude, again, good recipe. You know, I always look at it like from like a cooking perspective, you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, so it allows me to kind of be like, okay, these things are also now acceptable. So now we can get this hodgepodge of shit going, you know, and we can really
saying. So ear to the ground for right now. Is that what you're picking up on? Is that you're liking that this brutal death style is getting way more mainstream?
Oh, dude, hell yeah.
Because now you have even less limits for what you.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. Because as a rapper, I'm like, oh, dude, this is gold, man. Because
it's like, what can't I do now?
Oh, dude. Yeah. No, literally. Now it's like, now I can really piece everything together. It's like a huge puzzle that was the last piece. Is like, because I'm a metal guy, right? So it's like, how do I even do this? You know, where I now it's like, shit, I can just make shit similar, very adjacent to Peeling Flesh. And obviously, you know, Clay is a guy like Clay is to definitely to thank for that. But I'm even now starting to kind of circle back into trap metal, like proper trap metal, like the pure fucking trap metal era, because I think there's a lot more that can be done with that. So I'm trying to get something together with a producer. We'll see if it pans out. But as of this interview, it hasn't fully panned out yet. Where it's in the conversation, so we'll see where it goes. I don't want to say too much, but the instrumentals for it are next level, and I think
awesome.
I think if we're able to do it, it'll be fucking sick.
And I would say that's another important point to the success too, is just that your taste has evolved around a similar trajectory as the public's taste has, and you're in a relationship with that as a kind of I don't mean to say mainstream guy because you're very underground, but as a person who is being attentive to serving mainstream needs in some capacity, your guys' tastes have evolved concurrently to, and I've been saying this the whole time, metal is just going to get more and more acceptable because it's
So let's talk about that for a second, because I feel like that's a really good point to bring up, because I was just realizing this. I feel like underground rap, especially like dark trap or trap metal, whatever you want to call it, really kind of died over the last year and a half. I mean, it's dropped like in popularity. And
yeah,
I think with the rise of like actual metal and like live shows again and shit like that, it's like people would rather spend $30 to go see a Peeling Flesh show in their city with like, you know, I don't know, Chain Gang or something like that, you know, overseeing, like paying the same amount of money to go see some like rappers that are coming to their town. It's kind of like,
No,
unless
definitely.
unless the headliner, like, why would you want to, like, if we're just speaking from, like, an objective perspective right here, right? Like, unless you love that rapper, why wouldn't you want to go see guys, that have learned how to play an instrument and are playing it through a PA, they're playing it live, instead of watching a rapper
And
play
it's
off
just,
of a backing track.
well, and that's what I'm saying. Please, as a rapper, please pay attention to Sinizter. Please pay attention to this, because let's get really real for a second. I bet you have more plays. Totally correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you have more monthly listeners than Peeling Flesh does, but they have a more loyal fan base of people that show up to their shows. Is that, you know what I mean? Look at
100%.
the religious affiliation fans of metal bands have.
Mm-hmm.
For the ones that are established, because this is why when we were talking about why are some of these dark rappers starting to pair up with hardcore bands, because you can go see, look at what happened with who was it? It was DaBaby or something, had 50 million monthly listeners and then had to cancel a show because he couldn't sell 600 tickets.
Yeah.
But Peeling Flesh can sell 600 tickets when they probably have, I don't know, 50,000. I don't know what the number is, but like nowhere near comparable to a mainstream level. Because what is the culture? Look at the culture of merchandising. People look at the culture of Peeling Flesh, look at the aesthetic culture where you are immediately like I love Sanguisugabog. You are immediately put into an in-group when you like Sanguisugabog, because if you don't know how to say it, you can't read the logo, you're immediately in an in-group. Same with Peeling Flesh. No one knows what the fuck that says. You can't read it. It's on purpose because it's not for you. It's for a group, and that creates that devotional nature to it. So tell me what you think about that. Is that a good pairing? Does that help even out some of the discrepancies between streams and ticket sales?
Yeah, so I think people are starting to kind of realize it too, like the importance of being able to sell tickets, because a lot of, like, it's a luxury nowadays for a rapper to be able to go on tour. It's a luxury for anybody to be able to go on tour nowadays, especially in this economy, but especially for rappers. Like, labels are not looking to sign rappers right now, which is another big thing.
I think it reached oversaturation. It reached the point
1000%. It's too easy to become a rapper, and it's too easy to get popping on TikTok and then drop after like 6 months to a year. Like, it's too simple.
Yeah,
and it's too simple to,
what you did, dude. I'm telling you, I've worked with so many rappers where I'm engineering them. Can you help me ghostwrite it? Can you help me blah blah blah? They have no fucking knowledge of rap whatsoever. And again, it's not from a purist thing. It's just you don't have enough of an identity to withstand the pivot of a trend. As soon as this trend dies, you're not going to know what to latch onto next, and you don't have enough of your own identity to do it.
Yeah, and that's it's something I've been wanting to publicly talk about, but I have the platform to do it, but I don't want to be that guy that just goes and rants on fucking Instagram or Facebook and just like, oh, this shit's dead, this shit's cooked, because then it invites all these other unwanted opinions that are gonna try to play devil's advocate and disagree with me and tell me
that's
why
I don't make that. That's why that's not the leading point of my personality. I don't like being a gatekeeper, but yes, I do. There are some things I've paid attention to.
You have to know when something is like done, and right now, underground dark rap, scream rap, trap metal, whatever you want to call it, it's completely dead. And it's like probably at its lowest point that it's been since 2017, I think, since like 2017.
I completely agree with you.
Lowest point. And like, there's a lot of artists that are like, I mentor a handful of people, but there's a lot of my peers that will just ask me like, simple questions like, damn, like, how are you still able to get tours? How are you still able to do this or that? And it's like, these guys will have like more monthly listeners than me. And it's like, on paper, they're bigger than me, but they don't sell as much merch. They're not selling tickets.
This trap metal thing, way oversaturated. I'm telling you right now, personally, for my taste, it's oversaturated. This brutal death slam shit is blowing up right now because we do it because I'm in an old school death metal band,
and
I didn't even Like, I understand the differentiation listening to it, but it's like, at first I was playing this game of trying to get on shows. No one fucking likes my band. We're way too old school. They just want you know what I mean? They want five breakdowns of song. We don't even play breakdowns. You know what I mean? We're like that kind of metal. We're like a thrash, old school. No one likes it. I mean, old 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old dudes like it, but like, these kids are hungry for fucking breakdowns. And I have a funny story just real quick that I tell all this time, because people don't know what to do. So I have a lot of friends that are in grindcore band, you know, stuff where it's like kind of avant-garde, but like a lot of blast beats, not a lot of breakdowns. I see 16, 17, 18-year-old kids walking. When they walk into a band like that, they stare at them and they get confused. When they walk into a breakdown band, even if they've never heard it before, they understand what's being requested of them as the audience. Because every fucking 30 seconds, the vocalist says, punch someone in the face to this, do that. You get it. It's way more intuitive than a niche form of metal. It actually, that's what's so funny. You would think it's totally inaccessible, but bands like Peeling Flesh, because what's perfect about Peeling Flesh is before a band like that would have been all about like rape and torture or something. And now it's let's just take the craziest aesthetic elements out of it, add like a goofy element to it. This is actually pretty accessible music.
Oh no, Peeling Flesh, dude, with the whole wigger rap element, dude, brilliant. It is, but it's, dude, honestly, like Clay, Mordrox, Peeling Flesh, I mean, like, you name any slam band or brutal death metal band that's putting like funk samples or rap samples, bro, brilliant. That is the most brilliant thing. Like, I remember when I first heard it, I heard Make a Move was the very first Peeling Flesh song I ever had or had heard. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, this, I never stopped listening to that EP. I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, this is the coolest crossover I've ever heard. This is so sick.
Ear to the ground. What do you see in the future? And what do you see, where would you feel comfortable being at creatively for your career?
Where I'm headed right now, definitely in like the metal direction, I think, because I was actually even like, I chat with my Discord fans a lot, like the guys that hang out in there. And I was like telling them, I'm like, look, you know, like everybody's already like, if you're a Sinizter fan, you already are a metalhead probably, or you like metal in some capacity. I don't strive to be this way, but I think that Sinizter is definitely a gateway artist because like it's fucked up. I've actually introduced people to like they'll hear me before they hear Peeling Flesh. Because they're a rap fan first. They don't know anything.
I know these people that know that and know the aesthetic and don't know even fucking, I mean, fuck it, that don't know anything beyond Limp Bizkit.
But so they don't know what brutal death metal is, but they're like, I really like you and I like what you do. Anything that you put out, I will listen to because I trust that it's good. I trust your taste. I trust you as a tastemaker, as an artist, right? But so if I come out with a song that's just like some slam or brutal death metal with some funk samples sprinkled into it or embedded into it in some capacity, bro, I'm telling you, I've introduced people. I've gotten people that are like, dude, I listen to Esophagus now because of you, because you talked about Esophagus being an influence, you know, for like whatever, you know, slam song it was, or like Cephalotropsy or something. Like, I'm a really, really big fan of like Angel Ochoa. So like, I really love that, that first Condemned record. And like, I'm a huge fan of Cephalotropsy as well.
I just got to play with them in Mexico.
Oh, dude. Hell yeah, dude. Oh, for real?
Dude, they love that shit down there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They definitely like love some, real brutal slam shit. But, yeah, man. Yeah, I've like put people onto that kind of stuff. And like I said, like they're like, I didn't even know I could like that type of music until I heard you do it. But it's like, sometimes it takes like someone that you really like doing a certain, like exposing you to a certain genre in order for you to realize like, damn, I actually really do like this. So I see metal getting even bigger than it already is, which it's already like, I mean, on the metalcore, deathcore spectrum, I mean, it's so high right now. I mean, the most ticket sales it's ever had, most merch sales it's ever had. I mean, you got like Slaughter to Prevail and Lorna Shore being like S tier, like deathcore, top of the top, you know, pick of the litter on that front. You got like Falling in Reverse and Spirit Box and, you know, Sleep Token and, you know, other similar bands, you know, you got those guys really like they're playing arenas, selling out arenas, man. That's insane, you know? And it's like people can talk and sit here and be like, oh, it's poser this, poser that, whatever. It's like, you know, okay, look, even if you take that and you take it to like, okay, let's take it to the underground. You know what else is really, really popping right now? I hate to say this because this is where my elitism comes out.
Yeah.
Black metal and black metal, even more specifically, black metal aesthetic is very popular. People love it, hate the music, love the aesthetic. And it's like, I'm watching all of you motherfuckers. Right You know what I mean? Like I'm watching out for posers because I don't like posers, but like I especially don't like black metal posers. Because that
it's funny because it's like liking it makes you the opposite of cool. Why would you pose with it? If anything, you should like it and be a tiny bit ashamed of it. Yeah. There's no reason to pretend to like it.
Yeah. Seriously, but there,
you know what
I mean? I have a
want to like
black metal imagery or aesthetic has been stolen for the dark trap scene for a long time, very long time, and it kind of started with like Ghostmane, really, and a little bit of Bones too. And I love Bones to death. Like it really started with like Ghostmane was stealing it. Now he's kind of on this whole like I want to be Marilyn Manson tip. You know, but it's like, you know, he was really, really like you'd see him in like pictures wearing like a Mayhem shirt or a Dark Throne shirt and shit. It's like, bro, I mean, I don't doubt that you listen to that kind of music. Like, I know he probably grew up on it, but still, it's like, if you're that into it, man, let me hear the side project. And like, he drops the side project and it's basically like a noise project. And it's like, that's not fucking black metal, dude. What the fuck?
So speaking of which, you have a couple outlets for your more for your less mainstream devilishness.
So
Hate Within.
Yeah, so Hate Within is
just plug. We have a couple here that I did write down. Let's plug these. So for the Sinizter fans who really want to get to know, who maybe aren't as familiar with what we're talking about and want to hear what's Sinizter and his least compromising creative output, what do you have for us,
dude? So Hate Within, which again, if you look at deathcore as like poser shit, whatever, like I said, I listen to all forms of metal. I love and appreciate all of it, especially I don't listen to deathcore all the time, but I do make it because, well, why you know, I gotta pay the bills, man. So it is what it is. But I do try to incorporate, and a lot of people used to try to compare Hate Within to like Lorna Shore, but we've since distanced ourselves as the album was released. People were like, oh, these guys are kind of tech actually. And it is deathcore because there are breakdowns, but it feels like death metal sometimes, and it feels like tech death also at times. We play some like, you know, not always necessarily odd time signatures, but we mix it up. And I, as a vocalist, also mix it up because I'm not Will Ramos either. So, but yeah, it's a pretty cool project. Symphonic deathcore. It's called Hate Within. We have one album. There's like 8 songs plus a whole orchestral version of the album, which is really cool. We got features from like Angel Vivaldi, the guitar player. He rips a solo on one of our songs. Ben Dewar from Shadow of Intent, and then we also have a feature from Flesh God Apocalypse, which is also really badass, from the opera singer. So so it's like, you know, really trying to lean into the whole symphonic element. So it's deathcore because it is breakdowns. That's about it. You know, like I said, the rest of it really does kind of feel like you're listening to like just a modern heavy death metal record with you know, symphonics, but it's really cool. And then I have I big black metal guy, so I got to have my black metal project. 2 black metal projects. So Legions of Malthus was the first one. There's one album. It's kind of more traditional, like some people call it like first wave black metal, because it's kind of more on the thrashier black and thrash side. But it's got some hints of like, second wave stuff in there with like the tremolo picking, but a lot of like the earlier stuff I was doing was more like Venom and like Bathory and that kind of shit. But I am about to start and roll out before the end of the year. I'm rolling out a second black metal project, and that's going to be like my main focus. I'm not really going to be focusing too much on Legions anymore. But it's called Epikoros, and that's going to be more like, well, we'll just leave it with the whole tenet of the band is uncompromising black metal, and that means it is not politically correct.
Good.
It is not. It is like that was one rule that I broke for myself. I want to have something that doesn't follow like, that's not intentionally shocking, but like, yeah, we said it, we did it, you know what I mean? And like, it's there, and it's like, if you don't like it, don't listen to it kind of thing, but like, hey, everything else I do is very respectful and honest, but like, I just got to have this one project for myself, man. That's just like, lets me feel like just a little ounce of, I got to have my own creative spark here,
Yeah, just no compromising.
Yeah.
Because just, you have to balance that as a guy with a career, I mean, you're not going to pay your bills if you don't ever have any compromises whatsoever. And I've been that guy, and I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, so that's pretty much the side project gigs. Hate Within actually has like a decent bit of traction. It's kind of crazy. I distributed that first album through Blood Blast distribution, so it's not like a full-on record deal, but it's distribution. They helped push us a lot to launch that first album, which is really cool. So
that's awesome. And then coming up, we've gone over a couple times crossover gigs. You said you did a couple. You did one, and I really want. Let me have your view on that first, and then I would like to share mine, because I think we should start networking us bands and rappers to make that happen. But let you go first.
Yeah, well, I just think it's healthy overall for like whether it's deathcore bands or hardcore bands. Hardcore bands are probably the most common that are like really, really open to it. It's somehow like always been weirdly rap adjacent.
Yeah,
like a lot of rap guys love hardcore, and a lot of hardcore bands
from graffiti culture. There's a lot of adjacency, and especially if you're talking original New York hardcore or West or any of that California stuff, that all came from skate graffiti culture. But continue with what you're saying.
Yeah, so like Atlanta is basically the same thing. But yeah, so I have a show coming up October 24th. It's a crossover show. I'm actually headlining it too. But we rolled originally it was just going to be just full on like trap rap and stuff like that. But the venue asked us to roll in a metal tour that was also coming in around the same time. So we're like, yeah, fuck it. One of the bands is also from Atlanta, but we're just like, shit, yeah, let's do it. And let's just try to sell the damn place out.
Do you know which band?
Yeah, so they actually all 4 of them played at the Gathering. Funny enough.
Oh, okay, wow.
But it's another one of the bands is called Fight From Within, from New York. Smile on the Sinner, Resistor, and Actus Reus is the other band. So but shout out to them for even wanting to kind of like embed with our little show that we already had kind of going. But yeah, so
has that worked out well for you in the past?
So the only other one that I've ever done that was like full on crossover was that tour, but it made me think like I could definitely be open to it. I did a tour in 2023 that was it was a rap tour. But we had a hardcore band open for us, and the fans were rap fans, but I mean, they got down with hardcore. So it was like, it didn't matter to them if like a hardcore band was opening for some rappers, you know what I mean? So it's like, whatever, like,
That's great.
Weirdly all under the same umbrella. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people love to see it regardless.
And I do too. And that's what all I'd say is, like I said before, there's a big difference in the, there's complementary strengths and weaknesses between the two scenes, and that, rappers really leverage a lot of internet virality, but they don't, a lot of rappers that aren't coming from like a band background don't understand that community building aspect. They're from a very solipsistic or just very narcissistic or just withdrawn point of view that you really can't have as a band, because as a band you need to function as a part of a community. And I'm not advocating for blind allegiance to either one by any means whatsoever. All I'm saying is I think more crossover like that would be really great, to have, the kind of dedicated hardcore fan base, merchandise, forward fan base of hardcore mixed with that internet virality, especially if you're someone like maybe who is more of a biter than Sinizter, where maybe pay your dues a little bit and you just spend some time. If you're someone who is a rapper or something, you got into trap metal or something like that, or SoundCloud rap, and maybe if you never have, spend some time with, understand that culture of the community of hardcore or metal or whatever, and just see how that functions. And let's try to take the best elements of both of them and do that together. So let's have fucking like some real banger, wild rap shows that go off like the way a Peeling Flesh show did. I think that would be a fantastic billing. I would love to see you with Peeling Flesh or any of the bands like that. That ever happens, please guest list me when you come through Cleveland.
Oh yeah,
I'll
for
come
sure.
Film you or whatever you want.
For sure, yeah. You can just come and hang out, honestly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a perfect pairing. That's what I think. So I would say, regardless, let's, as creatives, let's really look at like how forward thinking this is, and let's really look at Sinizter's success with collaborations and everything, and let's just use that as a impetus to network, maybe a little outside of our comfort zone than we did before, because as we go on and the world gets weirder and weirder, it makes more and more sense, and extreme fringe things are becoming less extreme and fringe. So I would playing with my metal band, I would love to open for you sometime. Or maybe, what I mean? There's as a producer, like, let's really like collectively together, I would call people to just, what could we really do to really shake shit up in the future, and use your template of success as, well, let's fucking go even further, bending that bar. Let's make it even fucking weirder. Let's put some blast beats in a fucking hard style song with a rapper, and then let's do it like whatever the fuck. But let's go, you know what I mean? I like that. This is an exciting future of underground music to me. So that's why I say all that. And that's the direction I would like to see. That's the most I can do, is just say, hey, this is what I think's cool and exciting. I'm with you on that. And dude, it was fucking awesome to talk to you. I could fucking punish you all day. Next time, I hope we get to kick it in person sometime. I could talk to you for hours. I definitely could punish you easily.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like I said, I appreciate you having me on here, man, to do something longer than an hour or two. So hopefully people get something out of it.
We got deep in this one. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
With the depth we got, I could go for a while, but
yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to leave off with people? Like I said, for either fans or potential collaborators, or I'm sure you get messages all the time. Hey, is there anything you would like to say to either fans, potential collaborators, blah, blah, blah? Leave it off on people that are respecting your take on a guy who has his ear to the ground and maybe wants to incorporate a little bit of your playbook.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't like, I guess, I'll break it up into two things. The first thing is, if you're thinking about doing this, like if you haven't done this yet, and I would consider like your own musical background first. I would consider, how well do you know yourself? How old are you? How developed is like your brain? Because that kind of matters in your decision making. It really does. It sounds ridiculous, but it's like, when you're young, you think you kind of like know everything, but like you don't have the life experience that's going to lead you to being able to like, it's like I mentioned really, really early on in this interview, like the handbook that I teach from is like, you know, ex-military guy, you know, turned metal vocalist, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the book of life I teach from, but everybody else is different. I'm also a metalhead too, have been my whole life. And like, that's my identity. You know, we were talking about identities earlier. So it's like, you know, those two things are very, very important to have, because it's part of, like, I hate to say it because it sounds weird, it might sound corny, but it's definitely real. But it's part of your lore, you know, whether you're an individual artist or you're part of like a front man of a band or whatever, or like maybe you're the guitar player in a band, but you're the main guy still because you started everything. You know what I mean? It's part of the lore, and you have to have that because it gives fans something to grab onto and like love and fall in love with and continue falling in love with, because they can relate to it or they just like it. They think what you do is cool and all that, you know? And so what I would say before, like, if you are asking yourself, should I get into this? Check yourself on that first. If you don't check it, like any or all of those blocks, don't do this. Like, straight up, do not do it. Like, just go get a real job. No one's going to knock you for it. We need people to work regular jobs anyways. You know, like, this is a very, very difficult line of work to be in. I'm on my second marriage, partially because of what I had to do to get here. You know what I mean? And it's a hard life. Like, it's hard even for me to look at my wife, like, you know, when we were dating and be like, hey, are you cool with this lifestyle? You know what I mean? So if you're already married too, it's another thing to consider, because it's like, if you know, work that 9 to 5 and you come home every day and like, now you're like trying to do this whole band thing, and now you're never home because you're like on tour or trying to tour or whatever, you're just available a lot less for your family. It's like, it's another thing to consider. Yeah, a lot of people don't think about that before diving in head first into stuff like this. So, yeah. And like I said, we don't need more oversaturation. We need good artists creating good music with good ideas. So
Yeah, 100% agree.
I'll leave that part at that. Secondly, for people that are pursuing this, I mean, keep trying to develop yourself and become good at what you do, because, like, obviously this did not happen overnight for me. This is my 8th year. Next year will be 9. I've almost but I have like collectively almost 20 years of doing music under my belt, like in total, since I was a teenager. But like, this was not an overnight thing for me. I'm still not where I want to be. I don't make the type of money that I want to make. I still live paycheck to paycheck. But, you know, if you like keep an ear to the ground, and if you like try to pay attention and try to apply like some of what you know you've heard me talk about, it sounds really hard to do, but try to be at the right place at the right time, you know, and doing the right genre. Not saying trend hop or follow trends, because that's not always the right answer, but if you are going to follow a trend, at least maybe try to have a plan to pivot off of it at some point when that trend starts to fade.
That's inevitable. And I agree. And just, if you, like I said, I haven't had the success you've had. I've been playing in bands for 15 years.
Yeah.
For streaming wise. But all I'm saying is, if you're around for long enough, there will be some trend that comes up that eventually maybe you could get on and get some traction with, and then hop off to something else. But if you need to think about if you really want to think about this as money, as a career, 10 years, 50, you know what I mean? But if you're around for 10 years, there's going to be something that comes by, you know what I mean? Do not go be a SoundCloud rapper the first year you heard it. Even if you have success, you're going to end up fried. You're going to be doing all the stupid shit that they're doing. And then everyone's going to say, fuck you, when the trend is over. You know what I mean? No one's going to help you go to rehab, or no one's going to help you at the end of that. Everyone's just going to go on to the next thing. And it's just, I completely agree with you.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned too, just to piggyback off of what you said, actually, sorry.
No, thank you.
For anybody listening, just look at this as a business. If you want to go career, in music, look at it as a business.
Not only is it business,
like a small business. Yeah, it's like this is tough. It sucks, and most of the time you don't make shit.
Yeah.
When you start looking at it like a business, you start to develop a business mindset, and then you can start to treat it as such, and things start to make a little bit more sense. The decision making starts to make a little bit more sense.
100%. Dude, thank you so much for your wisdom,
Yeah.
for your time, for your energy, for your creativity, for your vibe. Thank you for your service to your country.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Of course, bro. Would love to link up with you again, but just for anyone listening, get your notepad out. Drop some knowledge here. Sinizter, thank you so much for making the time to talk to me.
Yeah, man.
Then fucking plenty of gems in here. So please don't DM me. Ask it how do I do X, Y, and Z? I'm gonna tell you, listen to this. And then let's talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. Take care.
Dude, I'm gonna stop this.